Chapter 660. There's nothing to misunderstand. He's already divorced. Mu Qiqi gave this answer when everyone was about to go home, especially when Xingboan was already drunk. If he were sober, this would be so awkward. Ren Yufei was stunned. She obviously couldn't believe it. She must have many questions in her heart. She also understood that Mu Qiqi was doing this to create an opportunity for her. It was very likely that she already knew what she was thinking. However, the more this was the case, the more she didn't want to be the one who took advantage of the situation. Even though she had been sent to seduce Xingboan, take good care of him. We'll be leaving first. Ren Yufei did not reject Mu Qiqi's good intentions, but she did not want to leave an image of a scheming woman in front of Xingboan. Therefore, she gave the waiter a tip and the Xing family's address and asked the waiter to send Xingboan back safely. After returning to the banyan courtyard, Mu Qiqi placed her body in the warm bathtub. She thought to herself that the human heart was really subtle. Soon Xianxia entered the bathroom. He took off his black nightgown and followed her into the bathtub. Then he held Mu Qiqi in his arms. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about Secretary Ren. I wonder if she sent third brother home. If it were me, I would definitely have selfish motives. Thinking about how hard it was to have a crush on you back then, if I were given such a chance, I would definitely bring you back to my house and take a good look at you. Xianxia closed his eyes and did not look at her at all. He only said slowly, she asked the waiter to send third brother home. Mu Qiqi, such a good opportunity had been wasted just like that. However, while Mu Qiqi was clicking her tongue, she also sighed from the bottom of her heart. Actually, Sheng Kai had chosen a very decent person to be his spy. Don't do this kind of thing again. I don't like it. Mu Qiqi was still in a daze when she heard that. She turned her head to look at him. Alright, I won't do it anymore. I'll just keep my eyes on you. I won't look anywhere else, okay? Xianxia did not say anything. His right hand gently stroked Mu Qiqi's head, making her feel sleepy. Mu Qiqi yawned and fell asleep on the man's chest in the bathtub. Anyway, when she woke up the next day, she would definitely be in bed. Late at night, when everyone was sleeping soundly, the employee of Huang Yao who was being chased by the police had been brought back to the police station in Jianchuan and would be interrogated overnight. Why would a girl, a dignified customer service representative, take the risk out of desperation and commit a crime? The girl did not panic. After she was arrested, she remained silent. She only made one request to the police. She wanted to see her family. Because as long as her brother was saved, it meant that the person had kept his word and she would not expose him. Also, did Xingboan think that this matter was over? In fact, this was just the beginning of Xing Kai's revenge. After all, it was old Xing's birthday in March. As his grandson, he should learn from eighth brother and send him a birthday gift. The next day, Xingboan woke up from his big bed at home. When he thought about how he was forced to drink by Shao Qi and how he had embarrassed himself in front of Secretary Ren, he suddenly felt his ears burning and couldn't help but blush. He didn't know who sent him back, but after he got drunk he fell asleep. During breakfast, old Master Sheng looked at Xingboan with a strange gaze. I heard from eighth brother that you brought your secretary to dinner last night? Qiqi asked me to bring her, Xingboan explained. However, from the old man's point of view, it was only because the little girl had seen through something that she would let the secretary attend a private dinner. Wasn't that obvious enough? If the secretary's family background is clean, bring her back to take a look. I'm very relieved to be able to take care of you in your career and life. Xingboan finally understood why Mu Qiqi had to drag Secretary Ren out last night. It turned out that she had such a plan. Grandpa, I just treat her as a secretary. Don't think too much. Alright, I was just saying. You should go to work. Old Master Xing could see how slow Xingboan was in this aspect. It was no wonder that there were no sparks when he lived with Hu Ran. He had never thought about what it would be like to hug a woman and be intimate with her. Xingboan was very helpless, especially when the other members of the Xing family looked at him as if he was having an affair with his secretary. Eighth brother is such a blabbermouth. Do you really have to explain everything in detail to the old man? Therefore, on the way to work, Xingboan called Xianxia. Eighth brother, since when did you and Grandpa have such a good relationship that you can gossip about me? My woman is worried about your marriage. What do you think? In other words, Xianxia felt that he was in the way. Are really black-bellied and sinister as always. Xingboan hung up the phone and went to Huang Yao. When he saw Ren Yufei, he should have been embarrassed. However, Ren Yufei pretended that nothing had happened. She just pointed at the conference room and said, "The police are here." In that case, the person had been brought back. Coincidentally, he also wanted to know why there were still people who would repay kindness with enmity. Huang Yao had never treated its employees badly, especially after he took office. In the morning it was rainy. A large group of people from the Yi family had come, all for the sake of making Mu Tongxue dazzling at the engagement ceremony. What happened in Huang Yao this time had made Mu Qiqi shine again. So, Yi Jingqing had to spend more energy and money on Mu Tongxue. He wanted to let the world know that Mu Tongxue was the noble goddess and Mu Qiqi could never be seen in public. Mama Yi sat in the living room with a gloomy face. After she was slapped by Yi Jingqing, she knew that Mu Tongxue was not as simple as she thought. So she could not act rashly. Mu Tongxue knew that she was holding back. So she was always stepping on Mama Ye's bottom line. Especially when there was no one in the living room, she deliberately put on the pigeon egg Yi Jingqing bought for her and showed it off in front of Mama Yi. "I knew it. Brother Jingqing really loves me. I said I wanted this diamond and he did everything he could to get it for me. Auntie, I really want to thank you for saving me from the slums." "Don't be too happy." Mama Yi snorted. "You should know that it's easy to get karma when one is too happy. I think this sentence is more suitable for your entire family." After that, Mu Tongxue smiled. "I'm going to ask Brother Jingqing for his shares tonight. Auntie, aren't you going to stop me?" Chapter 661. You've touched my things but you've never asked me. Mu Tongxue sneered. She raised the pigeon egg between her fingers and admired it for a while before returning to her room. Why would she care about this now? She just wanted to make this family suffer. Yi Jingqing would never let her go and she would never let him go either. So, evil people should torture each other like this. Mama Yi saw Mu Tongxue's smug expression. She could not wait to tear Mu Tongxue's mouth apart. But she knew it was exactly what Mu Tongxue wanted. He was not that stupid. However, she would never agree to let such a jinx marry into the family. Even if her son was not on her side, she still had her husband. A grand engagement ceremony? That would depend on whether it could be held smoothly. Wasn't Mu Qiqi, the little bitch's elder sister, at loggerheads with her? She did not know if Mu Qiqi was willing to help her deal with this little bitch. After the incident at Huang Yao, Mu Qiqi could finally return to the forensics laboratory. But when she returned to the police station, she found that everyone was out on duty. There was another murder case. Mu Qiqi took out her phone and called Xianxia. He thought it was fine this time. After all, she had rested for a few days. "Where are you? Why didn't you tell me about the case?" "In a building in the city." Xianxia said while vomiting. "It's so disgusting. Give me the address. I'll come over now." "I think you're the only one who can be as steady as a mountain and help the professor." After saying that, Xianxia gave him the address. Mu Qiqi received the address and rushed to the crime scene. However, the scene was too spectacular. Now, only Tang Yan and the professor's expressions did not change. Of course, after Mu Qiqi came, there would be another Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi arrived at the scene in 20 minutes. But when she was downstairs, she could already smell the stench of a corpse. The police saw Mu Qiqi entering the cordon and quickly stopped her. Mu Qiqi quickly took out her ID, but the police recognized her. "You are Mu Qiqi. Go in." Was she already so famous? Mu Qiqi shook her head and went straight to the 6th floor. She saw a group of people covering their noses at the door, and there were several lumps of filth at their feet. Seemed to be a big case. "Xiaoqi, you're finally here." When the group of senior brothers saw her, they quickly made way and said, "Xianxia has been vomiting inside, so we can only vomit along with her. Hurry up and help the professor." Mu Qiqi was pushed through the door and was left dumbfounded. In the huge living room, there were actually 4 corpses lying on the ground. The giant phenomenon was obvious, and 2 of the corpses had internal organs scattered on the ground, mixed with some green. It looked colorful and spectacular. No wonder this group of people vomited so exaggeratedly. He looked at Mu Qiqi again. She was really calm. Xianxia quickly grabbed her and said, "Hurry up and help, I can't stay here any longer." Mu Qiqi took over Xianxia's work, and then Xianxia went to Tang Yan. "I'll help you. The deceased is a male between 18 to 20 years old and between 1.6 to 1.65 meters tall. The time of death is estimated to be about 15 days ago. There are no obvious injuries on the body, and according to the secretions in the nasal cavity and mouth, the cause of death is poisoning. As for the specific type of poison, we need to go through detailed tests and further dissection. This one should be a disembowelment, and the murder weapon is a very sharp dagger. It directly pierced the victim's abdomen from the left side, and then left a wound that is about 15 centimeters long on the right side. The process of examining the corpses this time was extremely difficult, because each of the 4 people died in a different way, even though they looked so young. The 6 forensic doctors spent almost an hour sorting out the things at the first scene. At the door, the police were questioning the informant. "Officer, I am the landlord of this house and I rented it to one of the children. But he is already 18 years old and he is working outside to earn his living expenses. This child looks quite honest. He has been living here for more than a year and there is nothing wrong with him. He pays the rent every 3 months. This time it's because I received a complaint from the neighbors. They said that there are always some strange insects climbing in front of my house, and the house is getting more and more smelly. I had no choice but to get someone to unlock the door, but I didn't expect to see such a scene. Officer, don't you think I'm wronged? Who would dare to rent this place in the future?" Mu Chichi and the others were helpless when they heard the landlord's words. After all, he was really innocent. After the forensic doctors finished their work, they returned to the police station. Because it was a major case, the police in the district felt that they could not solve the case within a time limit, so they went to the criminal investigation team and asked to take over. Tang Yen, of course, did not say anything. After all, as long as it was a case, he did not care about whether it was serious or not. The group of people rushed back to the police station. There were 4 dead bodies. This time it was really enough to make the forensic doctors busy. But at this time Mama Yi actually came to the police station. "Chichi, someone is looking for you." Mu Chichi had just placed the bodies on the dissection table with the professor. When she was about to start working, she heard that someone was looking for her. She immediately took off her gloves and sterile clothes and went to the hall of the police station. "Who is it?" "That lady." Mu Chichi looked in the direction where her senior was pointing and saw Mama Yi with a face full of disdain. "That's true. A lady from a wealthy family would definitely get lice if she lowered herself to this kind of place." "Madam Yi, are you looking for me?" When Mama Yi saw Mu Chichi approaching, she quickly covered her nose. You have a very strong smell." "I'm dissecting. Of course I smell. Madam Yi came to me without telling me. I don't have time to take a shower and change my clothes," Mu Chichi said coldly and put her hands in her clothes. "Do you want to tell me?" Mama Yi was also convinced by this pair of sisters. The elder sister did not want to be a rich lady, but had to do this dirty, smelly and dirty job that dealt with corpses. What about the younger sister? She had the heart of a snake and a scorpion. Every day she would bewitch other people's sons to achieve her own goals. They were really a pair of weirdos. Mu Chichi knew that Mama Ye's visit would not be a good thing. The biggest possibility was that Mu Tongxue and Yi Jingqing were going to hold their engagement ceremony a few days later. It was useless to oppose Mu Tongxue. So they wanted her, Mu Tongxue's enemy, to join them. However, these people probably thought that it was easier to find the police station and meet her. She really needed to greet her seniors in the future. Chapter 662. Mama Yi took out a tissue in disgust and covered her mouth. Then she took a few steps away from Mu Chichi and said, "I know you don't get along with your sister. She has caused you so much trouble. You should want her to live a life worse than death. Now this little bitch is getting engaged to my son. She might live a better life than you in the future. Are you really convinced? I came here today to ask if you are willing to work with me to get your sister out of the country. Let her leave our sight and never discuss us again." Mu Chichi looked up at Mama Yi seriously. "You used to be on good terms with the Mu family and treated Mu Tongxue as your daughter-in-law. But your attitude towards her has changed so much in such a short time. Whatever you say, I just want her to get out of my sight. Far away. It's best if she dies a horrible death." Recalling Mama Ye's love for Mu Tongxue and the adjectives she used on Mu Tongxue today, Mu Chichi thought that this world was really realistic and ironic. First of all, she can't be more famous than me. Because the Yi family is just a small family. You can barely make it into the top 100 in Jianchuan. Just because you have the right to talk to me doesn't mean that we are on the same level. Secondly, Mu Tongxue and the Yi family love to kill each other. Why should I interfere? I can't wait for her to turn the Yi family upside down. Madam Yi, don't forget how your son treated me when I was young. Lastly, don't come to the police station next time. This is a place to punish evil, not a vegetable market. I'm not someone you can see whenever you want. Don't you know who I am? Alright, I still have work to do. You can do as you please, Madam Yi. Having said that, Mu Qiqi immediately turned around. She was really tired of wasting time on these irrelevant people. No, it was not irrelevant. It was disgusting. You and your sister will die a horrible death sooner or later. This is my curse to you too. When Mama Yi left, she shouted at Mu Qiqi's figure. Many policemen in the hall heard it and all agreed that Mama Yi was very vicious. I really don't understand the world of these rich people. However, no matter what, I will stand on Xiaoqi's side because our entire branch knows what kind of person Xiaoqi is. When Mu Qiqi passed by, she heard her seniors whispering to each other. She just smiled and said, "Then I really have to thank you." Yi Mu returned without success, completely beyond her expectation. There was no doubt that Mu Qiqi hated Mu Tongxue. But why wouldn't she cooperate with her? It was clearly the best time to deal with Mu Tongxue. Even so, even if there was a deep grudge between Mu Qiqi and Mu Tongxue, she wouldn't help an outsider against her own sister, would she? Especially since the Yi family was not innocent. Soon Mu Qiqi returned to the lab. Meanwhile, the others were busy examining the corpse. Of the 4 victims, 1 died of potassium cyanide poisoning, 1 was stabbed to death, 1 was electrocuted to death, and the last one was hacked to death. The 4 of them died in different ways, and according to the current state and characteristics of the corpses, the conclusion is that the 4 of them died at almost the same time. You've all been inside the crime scene. What do you think now? The professor asked the others. Mu Qiqi thought about it and answered, "For people dying at the same time sounds like a vicious murder case. But that's not actually the case. For people died in 4 different ways at the same time, and that alone doesn't fit the characteristics of homicide. Isn't it too complicated if there was only 1 murderer? Moreover, how could 1 murderer kill the victims in 4 different ways at the same time? Let's assume that there were 2 or more murderers, but there were no traces of anyone else in the house. There were no extra footprints, clothing fibers, or fingerprints, let alone signs of a struggle. How could such a huge case with so many people be cleaned up so cleanly? Most importantly, the murder weapons were all at the crime scene. That's why I have a bold hypothesis that you all already know. These 4 people either committed suicide at the same time or killed each other. According to the distribution of the corpses, the one who was stabbed to death and the one who was hacked to death should have been facing each other before they died. As for the other 2, one was lying on the sofa, poisoned by potassium cyanide, while the other was electrocuted and sitting on the floor. They must have planned this beforehand. Group suicide. The professor nodded. You're right. The DNA on the murder weapons has been tested. We'll get the answer soon if it's as you guessed. What we need to do now is to confirm the source of the corpses. Why would 17 or 18-year-old kids commit suicide together? Of course, the rest was up to Tang Yan. So Tang Yan took off his gloves and left the autopsy room. Feng Xianxia could not help but sigh. They're at such a good age, but they chose such an extreme way to end their lives. What kind of things did they go through to give them the courage to die? Who knows? Nowadays, young people's psychological endurance and ability to resist pressure are really far inferior to their predecessors. No matter what, if you have something unhappy in your heart, you must release it in time, especially you, Xianxia. I remember that you and Tang Yan are neighbors. If you have anything that you can't get over, remember to look for Tang Yan. That kid is also good at psychological counseling. Feng Xianxia was stunned. She could not help but snort coldly in her heart. I'm afraid you don't know your nephew at all. Alright, that's all for now. Hurry up and change. Then Mu Qiqi and Feng Xianxia went to the changing room. At this time, Mu Qiqi smiled at Feng Xianxia. Haven't you told anyone about you and Captain Tang? With his personality, he's always on the front line. Even 10 bulls can't hold him back. What's the point of telling others? Feng Xianxia asked. I wouldn't be surprised if he suddenly disappears one day. What can I do? I can only smile at life. You're not sad? Don't forget about Daishi, who didn't even sleep for Captain Tang. Don't mention it. I'm still angry. Chapter 663. Why did the man from the Yi family look for you? He asked me to talk to Mu Tongxue. Feng Xianxia looked at Mu Qiqi and shook her head. These rich families are really strange. The Xing family is like that, and so is the Yi family. Are these people unable to live the life of the rich? They have nothing to do every day and they don't contribute anything to society. And they're always looking for trouble. If you ask me, who should I ask? Mu Qiqi rolled her eyes. I don't care about the matter between the Yi family and Mu Tongsxue. To put it bluntly, it's just a dog-eat-dog plot. But I'm going to Mu Tongsxue's engagement next week. Since there's a good show, of course I'm willing to go. Feng Xianxian thought that sometimes being born into a rich family was not as good as being like her. She had some spare money and was free. It was really boring to plot against each other every day. Soon, the field personnel screened the identities of the deceased and found that they had one thing in common. Their family conditions were very poor. However, they came from different places and their family backgrounds were not exactly the same. There must be a reason why these 4 people from different places gathered together. Now, everyone's mission is to investigate the detailed information of these 4 people, from their family background to their social connections, as well as their interpersonal relationships. Everything must be clear. Of course, after Tang Yan assigned the task, he also walked to the entrance of the branch office. However, when he turned around and saw Feng Xianxian, he turned back and walked to her. Wait for me at the station tonight. Let's have dinner together. I'm very tired. I want to go home and rest. It's the professor's birthday today. After saying this, Tang Yan left quickly. However, Feng Xianxian, who was left behind, was confused. Did he mean that he wanted to bring her to dinner because it was the professor's birthday? Was that what he meant? His parents were not around. So, the professor was his only family now. Since he wanted to bring her to dinner, did that mean that she was meeting his parents? But why should she meet his parents? Should she meet him just because he said so? In fact, Tang Yan was outside the autopsy room just now. He heard the conversation between the 2 girls, especially Feng Xianxian's words. If he suddenly disappears one day, I won't be surprised at all. He knew that he couldn't give people a sense of security, and he also knew that Feng Xianxian's elegance was all an act. However, he would not simply disappear. At least after meeting Feng Xianxian, he cherished his life more than before. Mu Qiqi saw Feng Xianxian standing awkwardly at the door of the laboratory and leaned on her shoulder. Since he's taking you to meet his parents, it means that Captain Tang is very serious about you. What are you still worried about? I just feel that it's too sudden. This doesn't match Tang Yan's style of doing things. Makes me very uneasy. Most importantly, although the 2 of them slept together, she did not know Tang Yan at all. Everything she knew about him came from piecing together all sorts of information. Especially from the professor. She didn't even know him, but she wanted to meet his parents? She couldn't do it. Looking at you, you don't seem too willing? Feng Xianxian didn't say anything. He was really unwilling. At least, before Tang Yan told her about the past, she didn't want to be fixed. Therefore, when Tang Yan returned to the police station in the evening, he did not see Feng Xianxian. What are you looking for? The professor saw his outstanding expression and quickly asked. Where's Feng Xianxian? This girl is tired. She went home, the professor said. According to the usual practice, shouldn't you have dinner with me tonight? I want to have dinner with you, but now there's one less person. Let's go to my house. I know Aunt is still abroad and can't accompany you for your birthday. Okay, wait for me to change. Actually, the professor really wanted to persuade Tang Yan to move out of this graveyard because he didn't want his ex-girlfriend's matter to affect Tang Yan's life. However, when the off-road vehicle arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, the professor was surprised. Your place. My place has been sealed now. It's just a studio now, but I rarely go in. Then where do you live? Tang Yan pointed at the light next door. There was a garden in the courtyard and there were reclining chairs on the lawn. The professor followed behind Tang Yan in confusion. He took out the key and opened the door. Then everyone was stunned at the same time. In the living room, Feng Xianxian was sitting on the sofa eating snacks. In fact, her brain was still stuck. You guys, we're living together, Tang Yan explained to the professor. Then he turned to Feng Xianxian and said, Xianxian, make some tea. Feng Xianxian was stunned for a moment and quickly gave up her seat. She didn't expect Tang Yan to bring the professor to his house when she ran away from the police station. Speaking of which, she was really angry. Did she agree to it? When did this happen? The professor still couldn't suppress his surprised expression. It's been a while. I just didn't tell you, Tang Yan said directly. No wonder she was so nervous when you were injured. She wanted to help you teach Daixi a lesson when you were sent to the front line. The professor suddenly understood. You two kids usually don't say anything. Since you're together, then so be it. Why can't you talk about it? This is a good thing. It's not convenient in the police station. We still have to do business. Feng Xianxian listened to their conversation. She made some tea in the kitchen and brought it to them. I know it's the professor's birthday today. Sit down first. I'll make a few dishes. You can talk while you eat. I didn't know that you're good at cooking, little girl. The professor laughed. I just know some home-cooked dishes. Feng Xianxian quickly left after saying that. Since you're already with the little girl, you should let go of the things that happened in the past. You don't have to work so hard in everything. If you get hurt like last time, who would be able to bear it? This little girl is also alone. She has no one to rely on. Don't let her worry about you every day when she just got a lover. Uncle, I'm going to get married, Tang Yan suddenly said. The professor was stunned because Tang Yan had had girlfriends before. The last one was even unforgettable. However, he had never told him so formally that he had plans to get married. When she's of age. Looks like you're tempted. Good. The professor thought about it and his eyes turned red. If your father was still alive, he would be so happy to know that you're finally getting married. Chapter 664. If you really have the determination to protect her, don't be like before, risking your life for the sake of investigating cases. Make more friends and don't be so lonely. With your ability, if it weren't for your quiet personality, you wouldn't have been a mere captain a long time ago, and you wouldn't be a third-level superintendent. Tang Yan, remember, protecting the country is a responsibility, and protecting the family is also a responsibility. If you can't even protect your wife, how can the people of the country put their lives in your hands? Think about it yourself. While Feng Xianxian was cooking, the uncle and nephew chatted in the living room. Soon Feng Xianxian brought the food to the table. They're all very home-cooked dishes. Don't mind them, Professor. I'm lucky to be able to eat the dishes cooked by my niece-in-law. I thought I would never see this kid have a girlfriend again in my life. The professor picked up his chopsticks happily and tasted every dish. Feng Xianxian looked at Tang Yan and did not say anything. After the professor left, she would settle the score. Looks like I'll have to come here more often in the future. The professor ate very happily. He stayed in Feng Xianxian and Tang Yan's house until late at night before leaving in satisfaction. This was probably the happiest birthday he had in recent years because he finally had an answer to Tang Yan's father. However, the moment the professor left, Feng Xianxian started to make things difficult for Tang Yan. Did you get my permission to bring the professor back just like that? I thought you would be very happy with our relationship. Feng Xianxian crossed her arms and turned to look at Tang Yan. Which eye of yours sees that I'm happy? Tang Yan did not say anything. He turned around and was about to return to the bedroom. However, Feng Xianxian felt a sense of guilt as if she had bullied her little wife. So she stopped Tang Yan. When are you going to tell me about your past? I don't mind that you have countless girlfriends. I just want to know what you've been through in the past. I don't want to be forced to accept it when things happen. Tang Yan, you're willing to let me see the professor, but you're not willing to tell me about your past. Tang Yan looked up and stared into Feng Xianxian's eyes. He sighed. Sit down. When Feng Xianxian heard that Tang Yan seemed to have compromised, she quickly went around to the sofa and sat down. Let me say this first. If you feel uncomfortable after listening to me, you can't break up with me. Tang Yan also sat on the sofa. He placed his hands on his thighs and interlaced his fingers. I've been living alone since I was 10, so I became very antisocial and liked to get into fights. When I was 15 or 16, I got into a fight outside and was sent to the juvenile detention center. I was locked up for 8 months. It was also in the juvenile detention center that I became enemies with a very famous gangster. He swore that once he got out he would kill me for revenge. So, as soon as I left the juvenile detention center, my uncle forced me to go to the police academy because it was safer there. I got into the police academy, but I still couldn't control my temper. I got into a fight with a colleague and got a major demerit. I was almost fired. It was the gangster who threatened me who changed my life. He stabbed me and I was hospitalized for 3 months. From then on, I kept my temper in check. Because I was good in all aspects, I was chosen to be an undercover agent. It was a drug gang, and it was a gang with a lot of gunpowder. I spent a year to gain the trust of the boss and followed him as his second in command. Later, I released important information and cooperated with my colleagues in the police force. Finally, we destroyed the gang, but my identity was also leaked. In the first few years, my enemies were hunting me. I hid everywhere and often went to the front line to help with some important cases. It was only when my enemies were caught one after another that I finally had peace. But perhaps it's because I'm used to this uniform, this job, and I've seen the great good and the great evil in the world. That's why I'm on the front lines. Because I've seen the various methods of those criminals. I think that people like me are born to deal with those vicious people, because I feel that I'm actually the same kind of person as them. Women, I don't avoid my casual side at all. Since I was a teenager, I have never stopped being with them. But I don't play games with relationships, so most of the time I end on good terms. What about the previous one? Xianxia felt that she did not mind that Tang Yan had never stopped being with her, but she cared about his previous one. Because in her subconscious she felt that this previous one was the person who had the greatest influence on Tang Yan. Especially after the previous one passed away, he did not look for a woman for 2 to 3 years. The previous one was a university student who did research. She said that she liked the male hormones I exuded, so she chased after me for 8 months. I agreed, but I did not have extra time to accompany her, so she complained more and became more and more dissatisfied. We did not spend a long time together. The real time we spent together was less than a month. Because I always disappeared for a few days, she could not stand it anymore and had an affair with another man. After I found out, we broke up peacefully. But later she came back to find me. Because she was seriously ill, I kept her by my side to fulfill my duty. In the end, I sent her away and found a grave to erect a tombstone for her. After that, I met you. Is she a special existence to you? Tang Yan shook his head. She's the same as before. There's no difference. Then why was there 2 years between you? Or should I say, am I also one of them? Xianxia, when you've been locked in a small dark room for a month, thrown into the mountains for 3 months without any help and fought with drug dealers every day, you'll know that as a spy your heart must be hardened. I admit that perhaps the way I look at women is no different from how I look at other things, because I feel that only life is precious in this world. But you jumped out of the stereotype of a woman and injected a few drops of fresh blood into my already dead heart. After hearing this, Xianxia was very touched. She moved her throat. Wuxia is also very special. But I am not interested in other people's things. Most importantly, I see the shadow of my past in you. Chapter 665. In fact, Xianxia's feelings were really complicated. She also understood why Tang Yan was so quiet and taciturn. It was because he had seen through all the truth and hypocrisy in this world. He had experienced pain and torture that others could not feel. How could such a person be affected by the little things in life? To him, solving cases was the only value in living. But it was also because of this that Xianxia was extremely obsessed with him. This man was a hero in her heart. She had an indescribable sense of worship for him, although she had never said it out loud. However, Tang Yan had already shown her his past. What about herself? Should she continue to hide the fact that she had hid a child for that scumbag? I've already gotten the answer I want. Why should I stop? Xianxia asked Tang Yan in return. It wasn't easy for me to find a man that I'm crazy about. Why should I let go? It's just that there are some things that I want to tell you in advance. After all, I don't want those things to be dug out in the future and stabbed into each other's hearts. If you mind, then I don't mind, Tang Yan answered directly. Do you know what I'm going to say? I know. Tang Yan summarized it with 3 words and placed his gaze on Xianxia's abdomen. His meaning was self-evident. Xianxia was stunned. She did not expect him to even know this. Do you really not mind, or are you pretending? Do you still want to talk about it in the future? After hearing Xianxia's words, Tang Yan took off his shirt and revealed the scars on his body. Do you think I care about my body that much? Xianxia did not say anything. After a long while she smiled and said, then let's get along like this. I don't ask for a romantic life. I just want you to be alive. I don't need you to take care of me. I just want you to be by my side. You do your job as a criminal police officer and I'll do my job as a forensic doctor. There's only one thing. If we can have a child in the future, I hope that you can be by my side when I give birth. Do you understand? Tang Yan did not just understand. Long-term training had made his hearing very good. However, if he used words to answer at this moment, it would seem a little too shallow. So Tang Yen carried Feng Xianxian from the sofa and walked quickly to the bedroom. Once he made up his mind, he would not change it. Even if he died, he would not let go. The next day, the mass suicide of the four youths attracted a lot of attention from the outside world, and all kinds of discussions followed. Some said that they had been brainwashed, some said that they had encountered evil spirits, and there were all kinds of rumors in the streets. The police were currently conducting an investigation, but the chief requested that the case be closed as a suicide as soon as possible. After all, they could not make the public panic. Since it wasn't a homicide, there was no need for the special investigation unit to take action. The police in the district could handle it. Tang Yen was ordered to hand over the case and he had to obey the order. So the case was soon taken over by someone. The people in the police station instantly became idle. Although everyone wanted to know why these young people would make such an extreme choice, it was impossible for them to do so. He had never thought that there would be a follow-up to this matter. Soon it was time for Mu Tongxue and Yi Jingqing's engagement. The rich circles were also talking about Mu Qiqi and Mu Tongxue. The sisters had been entangled for some time, but in the end they had each married off to a rich family. Still, would Mu Qiqi attend Mu Tongxue's engagement ceremony? There was no doubt that Mu Qiqi would go. After all, she still wanted to watch the drama between Mu Tongxue and Yi Jingqing. The two of them had left such a huge shadow in her childhood. Now that it was a dog-eat-dog time, how could she not go and watch the drama? However, Mu Qiqi knew very well that the reason Mu Tongxue took such a dangerous step was to take revenge for Mr. Liu. But even if the news of her engagement was spread everywhere, Mr. Liu would not show any concern for her. That morning, Mu Qiqi got up to take care of herself. She saw the man behind her putting on his shirt. She immediately walked over and helped him tidy his shirt. Is Mr. Liu getting used to Zhongting? I think so, Xianxia replied calmly. He is quite calm. He seems to be having a good time. Although you don't want to admit it, you are still feeling sorry for Mu Tongxue. Xianxia lifted her chin and looked into her eyes. Even if Mu Tongxue is so hateful and deserves to die, if it's someone else, I will be the same even if it's not Mu Tongxue, said Mu Qiqi. Can you come home early in the morning and pick me up? Since you are going to watch the drama, you should go to the wedding earlier. 10 o'clock sharp. Xianxia pinched the bridge of Mu Qiqi's nose and walked out of their bedroom. Mu Qiqi watched Xianxia leave. She hoped that the drama today would be more exciting than the investigation. Otherwise, it would be a waste of her precious time. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. The guests of the Yi family had started to appear on the lawn of Xianxia Hotel. After all, it was the engagement day of young Master Yi and Mu Tongxue. But Yi Jingqing's parents did not come out to welcome the guests. They were still sulking at home. Yi Jingqing was wearing a blue suit. When he went downstairs, he looked at his parents. Dad, Mom, it's my engagement today. Can you give me some face? Mama Yi snorted. Papa Yi did not want to go out and embarrass himself. He waved his hand. You go alone. We won't go. How can I not go? Yi Jingqing's voice had a hint of danger. If you don't go, I will mess around with Yi Holdings. How dare you? I've given all my shares to Mu Tongxue. What do you think I won't dare to do? Yi Jingqing's parents were threatened by their own son, but they could do nothing about it. They could only say, you go first. We'll go and change our clothes. Hurry up. After that, Yi Jingqing went upstairs excitedly to fetch Mu Tongxue. Then they went downstairs together. But what about Mr. and Mrs. Yi? They were fuming. Hubby, what should we do now? We have to think of a way. It will be too late if they get engaged. Let me think, Papa Yi said. He paced back and forth in the living room anxiously. This unfilial son is not afraid of being kicked out of the board of directors. He doesn't care about us at all. I want to cut off our relationship as father and son. What about Mama Yi? She looked at the red wine bottle on the table. There was no hurry. There was still room for redemption. But to be honest, how many people would go to the engagement ceremony to give their blessings sincerely? Weren't they there to watch the drama or laugh at the joke? Chapter 666. Papa Yi and Mama Yi went to their son's engagement party in ordinary attire. Mama Yi was even dressed in a solemn black outfit. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was going to attend a funeral. There was not the slightest hint of joy on the faces of the two old men. Their faces were filled with unwillingness. How was this a wedding? It was clearly a funeral. Thinking about it, Yi Jingqing was really pitiful. In this engagement banquet, other than him, the other three people probably had their own thoughts in mind. But soon, the huge lawn of the hotel was filled with guests. What surprised Yi Jingqing even more was that Mu Qiqi and Xianxia really came. Xianxia was wearing a brown coat with a gray suit underneath. He still looked like a dignified suit. Holding Mu Qiqi, who was also wearing a beige coat, they walked to Yi Jingqing. I didn't expect Chief Xing to come. It's really an honor for Yi Holdings. Zhongting was a military enterprise. The power behind it was mysterious and shocking. In the past year, Xianxia had quickly built this huge kingdom in Jianchuan with the most ruthless methods. So, it was indisputable that he was the youngest tycoon in Jianchuan. Yi Jingqing thought that Xianxia was disdainful. At least to Zhongting, Yi Holdings was just an egg that would break with a light touch. My wife wants to watch the show. I have to satisfy her curiosity. Xianxiao's answer was quite wicked. There was a hint of mockery and danger in his eyes. Yi Jingqing chuckled and said calmly, Chief Xing, please. I will let you have a feast for your eyes later. Mu Qiqi held Xianxiao's arm and looked up at Yi Jingqing. At this moment, Yi Jingqing was beaming with joy. She wondered how Mu Tongxue would make him pay later. Let's go. Xianxiao brought Mu Qiqi into the hotel. But Mu Qiqi thought of how he described her just now. How did I become your wife? If you are not my wife, who is? Xianxiao smiled. It was obvious that he was in a good mood. Mu Tongxue was dressing up in the bride's lounge upstairs. It was not her turn yet, so she let the makeup artist skillfully apply makeup on her face. She was going to be the most beautiful bride for Yi Jingqing later. In the past, she had imagined countless times in her mind that if she was lucky enough to marry Mr. Liu, she would look very beautiful in this white dress. But now she was going to marry her enemy. Miss Mu, raise your head a little. We're going to wear the crown. There's no need to go through all that trouble. This is fine, Mu Tongxue said flatly. The makeup artist looked at the accessory in her hand and finally nodded. Okay, I'll put the crown away. Soon, a waiter brought warm water to the guests in the lounge and a glass for Mu Tongxue. Mu Tongxue looked at the colorless, odorless, transparent liquid, and her lips curled into a faint sneer. You guys go out first. Let me calm down for a while. All right, we'll come in and call you when the ceremony is about to begin. After they left, the lounge suddenly became quiet. Mu Tongxue sat in front of the mirror and suddenly felt that the person in the mirror was so strange that she almost couldn't recognize him. A good show was about to begin. Soon, the ceremony was about to begin. Yi Jingqing looked at his wristwatch and walked to the bride's lounge. But at this moment, Yi Jingqing suddenly heard moaning coming from the room. He frowned and opened the door to the lounge, only to find his bride, Mu Tongxue, making love on the bed with a waiter from the hotel. Mu Tongxue. Mu Tongxue suddenly woke up. She grabbed the blanket and covered her body. But the red stain on the bed made Yi Jingqing's eyes turn scarlet. The waiter was probably frightened by Yi Jingqing's anger, so he hugged his clothes and crawled away. At this time, Yi Jingqing went forward and grabbed Mu Tongxue's wrist. Did you do it on purpose? Must you stab me in the heart with a dull knife? I don't know anything. I was delirious just now. I became like this after drinking that glass of warm water. Mu Tongxue tried her best to explain. I'm telling the truth. Yi Jingqing's eyes were red. He turned to look at the glass of warm water on the dresser. I'll ask someone to come in and clean it up for you. No matter what, we have to get engaged first. Yi Jingqing didn't have time to think about her. He walked out of the lounge and asked the makeup artist and the others to go in again. Not only that, he walked to the lawn with a murderous look and dragged Mama Yi to a secret place. Mother, I want to ask you a question. You must answer me truthfully. What now? Did you drug Mu Tongxue? Yi Jingqing questioned Mama Yi fiercely. Mama Ye's face flashed with unnaturalness. Although she denied it, she couldn't hide it from Yi Jingqing. You can't wait to put a green hat on your son's head, can't you? Are you crazy? Mama Yi was stunned by his shout. She slapped him. I don't agree to let that bitch in. I don't agree to it. Do you understand? Unexpectedly, Yi Jingqing went crazy and pinched Mama Ye's neck. Whether you agree or not, she is my woman. No one can change that. Let go. Oh, murder. Murder. Yi Jingqing let go of her. At the same time, Mama Yi was very disappointed. So the first thing she did after she stood still was to complain to her husband. When Papa Yi saw the strangulation mark on his wife's neck, he immediately walked up to the stage and shouted angrily, "Today's engagement ceremony is cancelled. The Yi family will never marry such a daughter-in-law." The guests looked at each other. Although they guessed that Mr. and Mrs. Yi would be unhappy, they didn't expect Papa Yi to be so direct. "Father, it's my engagement ceremony today. You can't cancel it just because you say so. We won't stop you if you insist on getting engaged. But Yi Jingqing, let me tell you, I, Yi Fengtao, don't have a son like you anymore. I want to cut off our relationship as father and son." Yi Jingqing raised his chin. He was not afraid at all. This completely infuriated Mama Yi. "Shameless thing. I'll pretend that I've never given birth to an unfilial son like you. You can live with that bitch till your hair turns white." After that, Mr. and Mrs. Yi wanted to leave the engagement ceremony. This caused everyone to be unable to understand. Wasn't the Yi clan's actions a little too unsightly? However, at this moment, Mu Tongxue came out of the room in a wrinkled white dress. She looked disheveled. Her makeup was all ruined. Her neck and arms were covered with marks. It was too much to imagine. Chapter 667. Mama Yi did not expect Mu Tongxue to come out like this. She quickly said, "You bitch. Aren't you afraid of offending public decency by coming out like this? Isn't it all because of you?" Mu Tongxue splashed the cup of warm water on Mama Ye's face. "You really put in a lot of effort to stop me from marrying your son. You drugged me and gave me a man. Do you think I will let your son go just because I am ashamed? No, your whole family tortured me like this. Where do you think you're going now? When I was young, your son tortured my sister and pushed her into the swimming pool. When I grew up, your son refused to marry anyone but me and kept me by his side. It's all your son's fault. Why do you have to take revenge on me?" Mu Tongxue screamed as if she had gone crazy. "Don't talk nonsense. Are you out of your mind?" Mu Tongxue walked to the center of the stage with her arms bare. Then she stood in front of Yi Jingqing. "In order to get me, you threatened me with Mr. Lu's life. I compromised. I'm willing to marry you. But why didn't you control your mother? Why did you let me suffer so much? Are the Yi family all devils? Yi Jingqing, how can I marry you after your mother made me like this? I've already asked the people at the hotel, and they found out that your mother was the one who drugged me. I, Mu Tongxue, was humiliated 1,000 times in front of the Yi family." Tongxue. Yi Jingqing's heart ached. "I didn't know it would become like this. You don't know what you can't do to get me? Now the whole world knows that I had sex with another man before I got engaged to you. Are you going to keep wearing me like a broken shoe?" Yi Jingqing reached out his hand. But he felt ashamed to grab Mu Tongxue. Because it was Mama Yi who did it. It was the person closest to him who did it. "What I gave you is the drug that caused you to be in a coma. It's not a drug that makes you seduce men. You are debauched. What excuse do you find to slander me?" At this moment, Yi Mu finally couldn't bear to roar out. That being said, it also confirmed that she had drugged Mu Tongxue. "You admit that you drugged me. That's good." Mu Tongxue laughed miserably. "Yi Jingqing, even if you still have the face to ask me to marry you, I will never marry you again. Because your whole family is full of scum. Scum through and through." In the end, Yi Jingqing reached out and grabbed Mu Tongxue, but she quickly dodged his hand. "Get lost. A mother-in-law set up her daughter-in-law to sleep with someone else on the day of her engagement. If this gets out, your family will be the laughing stock for the rest of your life." "Tongxue, I know. You still won't let me go, but it's fine. I know very well that you'll only let me go if I die in front of you, right?" With that, Mu Tongxue crashed into the stone pillar of the ceremonial platform. The MC was shocked and quickly hugged Mu Tongxue. "Don't do anything stupid." Mu Tongxue sat on the ground and cried, her heart breaking. When Yi Jingqing saw Mu Tongxue breaking down like this, the last line of defense in his heart was finally broken. "I don't want to marry you. I don't want to." Mu Qiqi stood below the stage. Her expression was very calm from the beginning to the end. She still thought that Mu Tongxue acted well, but she was not smart enough. Although this method humiliated the Yi family, it also hurt herself. Wasn't it not worth it to use her innocence to punish Yi Jingqing? However, she seemed to understand Mu Tongxue's grievances. Her current actions showed that she had given up on herself. On the stage, Yi Jingqing couldn't help but take 2 steps back. After such a long dream, he finally woke up. So he walked up to Mr. and Mrs. Yi and told them, "You won't have a son anymore. In this lifetime." Then he left the hotel, abandoned everything behind him, and drove his sports car as fast as he could on the road. Although Mr. and Mrs. Yi hated Mu Tongxue, they felt that it was more important to pursue their son now. So they ignored the guests and chased after her. The guests left one after another. At this time, Mu Qiqi walked up to Mu Tongxue, took off her beige coat and put it on her. "You did it on purpose. It's not over yet." Mu Tongxue looked at Mu Qiqi and smiled. "Sister Dino, we've been fighting for so long, but today is the happiest day for me. Because I did something that I wanted to do instead of following in your footsteps and being your shadow." Mama Yi is an idiot. She thought I didn't know what she was going to do. But she didn't expect that even if she didn't drug him today, I would still do it and slander her. Let me tell you a secret. Yi Jingqing's car was tampered with. Even if he doesn't die today, when he realizes that it was all my plan, do you think he will feel like 1,000 arrows piercing his heart? This is the price he has to pay for touching Mr. Lu. At this moment, Mu Tongxue did not look like she was in pain. She only looked happy. She had sacrificed everything for Mr. Lu. "Sister, arrest me. I should have gone in earlier to atone for Grandma and Mommy. If there's a next life, I will learn from you and be a good person. At least when I fall in love with someone, I won't have to lie to hide my filth anymore." Mu Qiqi did not say anything. Giving her a coat was already the most benevolent thing she could do. As for whether Mu Tongxue was guilty or not, it was not within her jurisdiction as a forensic assistant. On the road in Jianchuan, a blue Lamborghini was speeding on the road. The traffic police tried to stop it, but it was too late. Yi Jingqing hit the guardrail and the car flipped over. When Mama Yi saw it, she fainted. But the miracle was that Yi Jingqing was not dead at all. He could not die. After all, he had to live to hear the truth. Mu Qiqi did not like such a bloody ending. At least she did not need to pay for what she had suffered when she was young with a human life. After all, she knew how precious life was. It was good that Yi Jingqing was not dead. Just as Mu Tongxue said, she was looking forward to Yi Jingqing's expression when he found out about this. After what happened today, the Yi family would not have the face to stay in Jianchuan anymore. When Mu Qiqi saw this, she could not help but look back at her man. Xiao, give her a place to settle down. It's best to throw her in Zhongting's factory. She should never come out to see people or harm people again. Chapter 668. Yi Jingqing's left hand had a comminuted fracture, and his brain had a slight concussion. In addition, he had all sorts of external injuries. If he wanted to fully recover, he would have to stay in bed for at least a month. After the surgery, Yi Jingqing woke up from his coma. When he saw his parents standing at the head of the bed, his expression was unusually cold. "My life." Mama Yi immediately rushed over and lay in front of Yi Jingqing. "You're finally awake. Do you know that you scared Mom and Dad to death? Let's go." Yi Jingqing's voice was hoarse and dry as if he had been rubbing on sandpaper. Mama Yi was stunned for a moment. Then she said to Yi Jingqing, "Silly son, do you know that all the plans today were planned by that woman? Mom did drug him, but it was a knockout drug. How could I let my son be so humiliated? Besides, the police have checked your car just now and found that there are stones under your brakes. Isn't this going to kill you? Jingqing, you have to believe me." Yi Jingqing didn't want to hear anything. He just wanted to sleep. So no matter how Mama Yi explained, he just closed his eyes. Mama Yi was helpless. In the end, she could only keep quiet and let Yi Jingqing rest. She would definitely find evidence of Mu Tongxue's cruelty. It was all because of that woman that the Yi family ended up like this. When Mu Tongxue woke up again, she was already in Zhongting's internal factory. It was a completely enclosed place. If you didn't go out first, no one could find you. "I'm the person in charge of the factory. Miss Mu, you can call me Manager Gao. According to Madam's instructions, I've arranged a room and a position for you. If you're willing to stay here, your treatment will be similar to that of Zhongting's interns." "Zhongting," Mu Tongxue murmured. "It seems that I have no other place to go except here. Don't worry. It's absolutely safe here. No one can find you unless you're willing. I didn't expect that it would be my sister who gave me a way out in the end. As long as Mr. Lu lived well and she didn't see Yi Jingqing, it would be heaven for her." After the engagement party, the whole Yi family was caught in a scandal. The news that Mama Yi drugged her daughter-in-law and caused her to be humiliated spread everywhere. Everyone was criticizing her. So her image as an evil mother-in-law must have been deeply rooted in people's hearts. The Yi family would not be shaken by this matter, but it would definitely be laughed at. Unfortunately, Father Yi and Mother Yi were such people who cared about their faces. Now, apart from staying in the hospital, the two of them refused to go anywhere. In fact, it was to avoid the gossip of the outside world. After Yi Jingqing woke up, he didn't talk to his parents at all. He didn't even blink. He was in a daze all day because he had a lot of questions in his mind. He just wanted to find a chance to run out of the hospital. Soon Yi Mu left the ward to the bathroom, but when she came back she saw that the person who should have been lying in bed had disappeared. Yi Jingqing went to the hotel and found the man who was having sex with Mu Tongxue in the room. Seeing that Yi Jingqing was covered in wounds, the man was frightened and quickly begged for mercy. "Mr. Yi, I don't know anything. I didn't have sex with your wife. She just asked me to act." Yi Jingqing grabbed his collar and pushed him against the wall. "If you dare to say a word, I will make you wish you were dead. It's true. Your wife is really good at acting. I really didn't touch her." Yi Jingqing couldn't use force, so he let go of the waiter's collar and leaned against the wall, panting. "Other than this, what else do you know? I think your wife really doesn't want to get engaged to you. She even asked another colleague of ours to buy some medicine for her. As you know, the hotel has that kind of service. They also have a special channel to get the special medicine." Get lost. Yi Jingqing understood what he meant. It was all a show that Mu Tongxue had written and directed. It turned out that his mother's explanation was true. Mu Tongxue didn't want to marry him from the beginning. She even embarrassed him so much and tampered with his car. Did she want him to die that badly? "Mu Tongxue, how could you be so cruel? Did I make you feel so bad?" Then Mama Yi caught up with him and saw her son kneeling on the carpet. She quickly went to help him. "Jingqing, get up. Get up. Get lost, all of you," Yi Jingqing said helplessly. "Am I not good enough to her? I treat her with all my heart, but I didn't expect that someone would want to kill me. Jingqing, she's the bitch. It's not your fault." Yi Jingqing broke free from Mama Ye's grip and walked out of the hotel. "Mu Tongxue, come out. Come out now," Yi Jingqing shouted on the street, completely ignoring the traffic. "Don't you want me dead? I'll die in front of you now. Is this the only way to avenge your Mr. Lu? Bitch." After shouting, Yi Jingqing turned around and stopped in front of a big truck. Then he heard the brakes. Mama Yi, who was chasing after him, saw Yi Jingqing's body and flew out. "Son Jingqing. Was there anything more exciting than this?" Mu Tongxue would rather destroy her innocence than be with him. She had never seen him as a lowly person in her heart. She only loved Mr. Lu. At this moment, Yi Jingqing felt that there was no meaning in living anymore. He just wanted to end it all. He just wanted to sleep for a long time. Late at night, Mu Qiqi received the news that Yi Jingqing had committed suicide. Not only did he want to die, but he also wanted to harm other people's truck drivers. What did other people do wrong? Mu Qiqi had no pity for people like Yi Jingqing. He was a scumbag who did not deserve anyone's pity. But maybe he was lucky or something else, he did not die. But his limbs were broken. Even if he recovered, he would be disabled for life. Maybe it was because she saw the news on the news. Although the news was very subtle, it said that a man surnamed Yi committed suicide for love and endangered traffic safety. However, when she saw him a few days ago, he was still arrogant and haughty. So Feng Xianxian said to Tang Yan while drinking milk, "Mu Qiqi's sister is really capable. Is this your attitude towards this matter?" Tang Yan asked Feng Xianxian as he tidied up the coffee table. "I know you respect life, but this scumbag really doesn't deserve any pity. Love can't be forced. It's fine if it was a normal woman, but she dared to mess with a drama queen. She deserved it." Tang Yan glanced at her and did not say anything. He just let her be. In fact, this matter at the end of the day was about the mutual affection between women. Chapter 669. Do you have something to say to me? Although Tang Yan could not get to Feng Xianxian's heart, he knew the general direction. When this person needed someone's help, he would definitely smile mischievously. Of course, he did not know that Feng Xianxian and Mu Qiqi were very similar in this aspect. Xianxia lowered her head and drew circles on his muscular chest. Aren't you a boxing champion? You can fight and fight. Can you teach me some self-defense skills? I don't want to lose to Muchichi. You can't learn these things in one go. It depends on years of hard work. Are you sure you can do it? If Muchichi can do it, why can't I? Tang Yan looked at her for a while and finally said, okay. I'll change the bedroom next door to let you practice martial arts. In the police station you always pretend that you don't know me and I don't get any special privileges. So, I want you to teach me martial arts. That should be a special expression of mine in your heart, right? Yes. It was rare for Tang Yan to be so easy to talk to. Xianxia was very satisfied. It was all thanks to their open talk. Xianxia was a very easy person to satisfy. At least her boyfriend had changed from a second-generation rich man to the captain of the criminal police force. It could be said that she was mentally prepared, right? That night the one who had a complicated feeling was Muchichi. Seeing Yi Jingqing in such a miserable state, she was of course happy. But at the same time she felt a little uncomfortable. Because all these things happened to her sister. They were twins. Mu Tongxue was disheartened. It was normal for her to feel it. After Xing Xiao finished his shower he came out of the bathroom. Seeing the little one in a daze on the bed, he walked over and hugged her. I don't remember teaching you to be sentimental. Your wife is very emotional. She learned it without a teacher. You don't have many days left, right? Xing Xiao suddenly reminded her. I really want to graduate early. Muchichi was a little worried. Then I can focus on solving cases and don't have to run between school and the police station every day. You're right. There are some things that can't be taught in school. Muchichi looked up at Xing Xiao in confusion. Then Xing Xiao leaned over seductively and moved the tip of his nose closer. For example, love. Bah. I remember third brother asking me if you have the final say in the family. He even used an idiom. Do you remember? Muchichi lowered her head and thought for 2 seconds. Then her face turned red. Let's try it tonight? Up and down. That was not a problem, but Muchichi was considering that her waist was not strong enough. The next day Muchichi was still sleeping when she heard her phone ringing. Having tormented the man for most of the night, Xing Xiao picked up Muchichi's phone and walked to the window to answer a call. Initially he wanted to let her sleep a little longer, but it seemed that it was impossible now. In a high-end residential area in the city, there was another mass suicide incident last night. Hearing this, Muchichi naturally opened her eyes and propped herself up. Clean up and have breakfast. I'll send you to the crime scene. Who still remembers the condition of young Master Yi who was lying in a pool of blood yesterday? This page should be flipped over so decisively. Muchichi believed that with Mu Tongxue's disappearance, Yi Jingqing would not do anything for the time being. Because he could not afford to be hurt. Soon Xing Xiao sent Muchichi to a high-end residential area in the city. This time 4 people died again. But the way they committed suicide was slightly different from the previous ones. Because Tang Yan and the others had arrived earlier, they had a clear understanding of the case. When he saw the car that Xing Xiao used to send Muchichi to work, he put down his white gloves and walked over. I haven't officially greeted you, Tang Yan. Xing Xiao looked at Tang Yan from the driver's seat and extended his hand. I've heard a lot about you. If you have time we can have a good chat. After all, there are employees of Zhongting among the people who died today. Xing Xiao's eyes instantly looked up, his deep eyes flashing with a dangerous glint. If you need Zhongting's help in the investigation, just let me know. Just one thing. Please take care of my people, Captain Tang. Who can compete with your influence in Jianchuan, Chief Sheng? Tang Yan's words sounded a little sarcastic, but Xing Xiao did not mind it. No one can compete with me. But the employees are still dead. If you have any questions, look for my secretary. Zhongting will assist in the investigation. After saying this, Xing Xiao glanced at Muchichi. That heartless little thing actually did not look back at all. Then Xing Xiao reversed the car and left the high-end residential area where the crime happened. Tang Yan's eyes told Xing Xiao that there was a story behind him. Xing Xiao knew that this person was someone important. If he really wanted to ensure the little thing's safety, he had to maintain a good relationship with this person. At this moment, Muchichi felt a headache at the crime scene. She really did not expect that there would be employees of Zhongting among them. If this matter were to spread, it would definitely cause rumors again. Previously, the other branch offices had closed the case as suicide and completely ignored the suspicions of Tang Yan and the others. Now that someone had died, they knew that the matter could not be hidden anymore. Someone needed to take the blame. So wasn't the blame still on the Special Investigations team? Just like last time, the 4 victims are all men between the ages of 18 to 20. They died almost at the same time. One of them had his throat cut, one took poison, and the other 2 were strangled to death while the other was stabbed to death. From the results of the investigation at the scene, there are no traces of other people, so we rule out the possibility of others committing the crime. These children committed suicide again. They're so young. By the way, one of the children has a very special identity. He just passed the probation period of Zhongting and became an official employee. As for the others, we'll have to investigate them thoroughly. Are we going to close the case as suicide this time? The professor raised his head and looked at Tang Yan. I'll report it now and apply to close the case. Tang Yan walked out of the crime scene with his phone in his hand. His tone was rather sarcastic. Mu Qiqi looked at these young children and felt a little uncomfortable. She really did not want Zhongting to be involved in this. This was a murder case. Previously, Chief Cha did not allow it. Now no one dares to take this hot potato. We're the only ones who can. If he had allowed it earlier, this case might have been solved quickly. Feng Xianxian felt wronged for her man. Mu Qiqi looked at her and did not say anything. Are you worried that Zhongting will not be involved? Mu Qiqi nodded, feeling a little uneasy. They're just employees of Zhongting. What can that prove? Besides, how do you think Xianxia uses his brain? He's not someone that those people can frame. Do you have no confidence in your man? Chapter 670. Which man doesn't hate evil? Feng Xianxian rolled her eyes at Mu Qiqi. Don't think too much. It's fine as long as we get to the bottom of it. Mu Qiqi nodded. Thinking that she was surrounded by capable people, she was not so worried anymore. Tang Yan actually went to apply to close the case. The chief looked at him for a while and rolled his eyes at him. You're deliberately mocking me for not letting you investigate before, right? Now there are 8 lives and the higher-ups want us to solve the case within a time limit. I didn't think it through before. I'll try to give you a few more days. Do as you see fit. Then the chief asked the police in the previous district to transfer the information of the 4 victims to the Special Investigations team of the branch because they had to investigate the case together. Then Tang Yan held a meeting in the police station to sort out the clues and connections. Within a month, there were 2 consecutive mass suicides. Now let's sort out the key points. They were all male, around 18 to 20 years old. Their family conditions were difficult. Due to various reasons, they all dropped out of school and worked outside. This is the similarity that can be found in these 8 people. Now, let's talk about the current situation in your hands, Tang Yan said as he looked at everyone, especially at the information analyst. It's like this. I put the information of these 8 people on the internet for screening. Then I found that these 8 people like to surf the internet. Other than sleeping at work, they basically surf in internet cafes. The information analyst said. If there must be a medium to gather the 8 people together and make them agree and reach a certain understanding, the only way is to surf the internet. The forensics department, 8 people. 4 of them killed each other and the other 4 committed suicide. Their methods were crude and they were indeed aiming for death. So there's nothing special about them. Of course, I've given a detailed description of all the murder weapons, including the bayonet, electric shock stick, and potassium cyanide. This should help you find the source of the murder weapons, the professor explained. Tang Yan nodded. It seemed that they really could not rely on the forensics department for this case. The only thing we can do is to find out if there are any similarities between these 8 corpses. Mu Qiqi, what do you think? Tang Yan looked at Mu Qiqi after hearing the professor's words. For people in a group, 2 people kill each other and 2 people commit suicide. Seems to be some kind of fixed procedure. Don't you think this is some kind of ritual or some kind of game? I think the key lies in what these 8 people read on the internet before they died. I think that if we do a cross-screening, we should be able to get some answers we want. Tang Yan nodded and looked at Feng Xianxian. What do you think? This man still knew to give her a chance to speak. I have a friend who likes to play online games. Whether it's domestic or overseas, he's very proficient. I'll go and ask him if this is something that's trending online recently. Here's the arrangement. The professor and the other forensic doctors will examine the body again to see if we missed any important information. Little Luo and little Gao, go to the internet cafes that these 8 people frequent and ask around about the situation. Chi-Chi, you and little Long will visit the families of the 8 victims and see if you can find anything. I remember that one of them is an employee of Zhongting. When you go to Zhongting, try to keep a low profile. Don't cause any trouble for the military industry in the country. After all, they are just employees of Zhongting. Feng Xianxia and I will go to the internet police for help and visit her friend. Although you are studying forensic science, you have enough brains. You can choose other things in the future. Let's go now. Tang Yan's words made Mu Qiqi and Feng Xianxia look at each other. It turned out that this man knew how to use his power for personal gain. He still knew how to get some benefits for himself. Soon the teams split up. Still, Mu Qiqi was feeling rather conflicted. Contact me if there's any news, Feng Xianxia said to Mu Qiqi when she got into Tang Yan's car. Mu Qiqi nodded and got into another police car. You usually avoid going with me. What's wrong today? Feng Xianxia sat in the passenger seat and could not help but ask Tang Yan. I have a feeling that your friend might really be able to provide important clues, Tang Yan answered as he drove. However, the sun was too strong. He was too lazy to do it himself, so he said to Feng Xianxia, sunglasses. Feng Xianxia rolled her eyes and did not argue with him. Since they were outside, she would listen to him. On the other hand, Mu Qiqi gave Xianxia a call. She was going to Zhongting for an interview later. She asked the relevant people to wait for her. Xianxia hung up and smiled helplessly at the phone. She was indeed the little one he had raised. Now she even found out about him. Then he called the internal line and called the secretary in. Your madam is coming later. Wait for her. I know. Madam is coming to visit because of that employee. I've already asked the people below to arrange for the relevant people to wait. Don't worry though. The secretary answered respectfully. I just don't know if she needs me to wait by her side when she comes later. Wait. Just wait. If she needs anything, just cooperate with her. The secretary seemed a little excited. Xianxia saw it and was a little confused. The secretary quickly explained, because I like Madam very much and I want to see her professional appearance. She's my idol. Xianxia snorted. His secretary had become that little one's fan? Let's go. Because the light emitted from that little one's body was really eye-catching. Soon Mu Qiqi brought the senior to Zhongting's building. When she entered the door, she did not need to report at all. She did not need to arrange anything. This made the senior a little embarrassed. Qiqi, Zhongting's management shouldn't be so lax, right? Senior, have you forgotten? I'm the boss's wife. Mu Qiqi smiled. As she said that, Xiao's secretary walked in front of Mu Qiqi. Madam, the HR manager and the child's superior are already waiting. Chapter 671. Soon, the secretary brought the 2 of them into the conference room, where the HR manager and another person in charge were already sitting. The 2 of them only knew that the police would come to question them, but they did not know that it was their wife. The HR manager immediately understood the identity of the person who came. The victim's boss, on the other hand, was not particularly familiar with Mu Qiqi's identity because he had been in the factory for a long time. Madam, this is the child's resume. The HR manager handed the information to Mu Qiqi. This child's name is Luo Mingxian. He's 20 years old and has just worked in Zhongting for 3 months. He has passed the internship period. 2 days ago, his superior just gave him a report to be promoted. We know all this. I want to know something else. So Mu Qiqi turned her gaze to Luo Mingxuan's boss. Officer, I'm the technician in charge of Luo Mingxuan's training. My surname is Lin. The man was only in his early 30s. He was mature and steady. His answers were logical and direct. This child graduated from an advanced technical school. Otherwise, according to Zhongting's recruitment standards, he would not be qualified to join. He's an honest person. Other than going to work, he's playing with his computer in the dormitory. His social circle is very small. Most of the time he goes to and from work with me. He doesn't have any bad habits. He came from a poor family. It was his uncle who helped him out so he could study. I heard from him that his parents divorced when he was very young and went their separate ways. His grandmother has cerebral palsy and his grandfather is a gambler. So, all these years he has been working hard to break away from his original family. Other than these, did you notice anything different about him from others, Mr. Lin? Mu Qiqi looked at him very seriously. This was completely different from how Mu Qiqi usually appeared in Zhongting. Hence, the secretary could not take her eyes off Mu Qiqi. It's quite normal. He just doesn't like others touching his computer. I think it's personal privacy, so it's nothing special. He has a day off at the end of every week. Sometimes he goes out, but I don't know who he meets. Is his computer still there? Mu Qiqi asked. The night before his accident, his computer was broken, so he told me that he was going out to fix it. Early the next morning, he left and took the computer away. Mr. Lin, please inform his family. If the police have any other questions, we will come and ask them again, Mu Qiqi said to Mr. Lin. Okay, no problem. The other party nodded very cooperatively. If there's nothing else, I'll go back to the factory. With that, he stood up. Mu Qiqi caught a glimpse of his hand and furrowed her brow. So before he left the room, she asked, Mr. Lin, you must have been working as a technician for many years, right? Yes, it's been 11 years. It's fine. I'll look for you if I need anything. Mu Qiqi did not tell him why she was asking. He waited until they were far away before asking the HR manager. Where did he work before he came to Zhongting? The HR manager thought for a moment and replied, I'm a veteran in the military enterprise. Why do you ask? What kind of technology would require the use of wrist joints? Isn't it strange to have a callous scar on that area? Mu Qiqi looked at her wrist and said. Then she turned around and asked the cute secretary, Sister, how long have you been a secretary? 8 years. Do you use the computer often? Of course, the secretary replied. Then please raise your hand. The secretary did as she was told and showed Mu Qiqi the condition of her wrist joints. 8 years of use had only caused a slight callus scar on her wrist joints. How bad would it be to have calluses like Mr. Lin's? Qiqi, what do you suspect? Senior Long asked. I suspect that he's also an old internet addict, Mu Qiqi replied. Of course, I just don't want to miss any information related to Luo Mingxian. The most important thing now is to find Luo Mingxuan's computer. Manager, can you get the video of Luo Mingxian leaving Zhongting's dormitory that day? I want to confirm if Luo Mingxian took his computer out. Yes, madam. Also, I need a list of the employees who have contact with Luo Mingxian. I hope you can prepare it for me. No problem. The manager nodded. This person is gone from Zhongting. You have to be careful of the media. The reason why the criminal investigation team brought me is because it's normal for me to appear in Zhongting. It won't attract attention. You have to do the best PR at all times. Careful. Senior Long could not help but give Mu Qiqi a thumbs up. That's why it's really a waste of talent to let you be a forensic doctor. I just felt relieved, but now I'm worried again, Mu Qiqi said meaningfully. Madam, do you want to see the CEO? He's in his office, the secretary asked attentively. Senior Long, wait for me for 10 minutes. Mu Qiqi had something to say to Xianxia. Go. Mu Qiqi nodded and followed the secretary. The two of them entered Xianxia's office through the special elevator. Are you done? Xianxia looked up and saw Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi sat on Xianxia's lap and sighed. I came to ask questions. I thought it was just a routine inquiry. This matter has nothing to do with Zhongting. But now I don't think it's that simple. What's the problem? The problem lies with Luo Mingxuan's superior, Mr. Lin. When I asked him about things related to Luo Mingxian, his answer was indeed watertight and there was nothing suspicious about it. However, he did not tell me that he also likes to surf the internet and that he is addicted to it. This deliberate avoidance makes me feel uncomfortable. I think he knows the inside story. That's why he deliberately avoided it. Xianxia saw Mu Qiqi's serious look and pinched her nose. Forensic Dr. Mu is really observant. Dorigo. I'll arrange the rest of the things you want to do. You know me well. Mu Qiqi reached out and hugged Xianxia. Xiao, Zhongting has just been established. I know your evaluation system is very strict. But don't ignore the impossible just because you are strict. I don't want Zhongting to be humiliated because of this. You little thing. How old are you and you already want to protect me, huh? Chapter 672. Xianxia lowered his head and kissed her lips for a moment. Finally he smiled. Got it. Go. Qiqi left the matter of the Lin family to Xianxia, and left Zhongting with Brother Long. It was only then that Xianxia called Su Che out. Go and investigate that Lin man. Report to me immediately if you find anything. Understood. Su Che immediately took action. Xianxia would only feel at ease leaving such matters to Su Che. Madam seems to be worried that Zhongting will be implicated. After Qiqi left, the secretary said to Xianxia, they probably don't want the president to get involved in this mess. Xianxia didn't say anything. He knew what the little one was thinking. She had placed him at the center of her heart. On the other hand, Feng Xianxian brought Tang Yan to find her friend who was good at online games. The other party was currently fighting in the club. From the looks of it, he should have some family background to be able to spend money in such a high-class place. Xianxian? The man thought he was seeing things. I haven't seen you in a long time. Are you here to see me? This is Officer Tang from the Jianchuan branch's Special Investigations team. He's here to ask you something. Feng Xianxian briefly introduced Tang Yan behind her and sat down beside the man. I'm a good citizen. I definitely didn't do anything illegal. Don't be nervous. We just want to know if there are any interesting online games on the market recently. I know you're proficient in foreign news, so I came to find you. Feng Xianxian immediately explained. Oh, then what kind of games do you want to know? As you know, there are many types of games. There are puzzle games, training games, and competitive games. Are there any types of games that require 4 people to form a team and have their characters enter the game or roleplay? Let me think about it. Are there any other details? The man with the crew cut asked. This shouldn't be called an online game, right? 2 people committed suicide, 2 people killed each other. The other party shook his head. Is there such a perverted game? I've never heard of it. Can't be a popular game right now. Otherwise I would definitely know of it. Feng Xianxian sighed and patted him on the shoulder. Alright, thank you. It's fine now. Continue playing. After saying that, Feng Xianxian got up. She thought that she could get something out of this man. But now it seemed that he had made a wasted trip. But just as they were about to leave, the man stopped her. Wait, Xianxian. I just remembered something. What is it? Recently there's a new forum called the Dark Abyss. I heard that this forum is very popular and very mysterious. It said that someone went in before and was scared out. I don't know if there's any information you're looking for, but you can give it a try. Alright, I understand. Feng Xianxian remembered this forum called the Dark Abyss. Your new boyfriend, right? Quite handsome, better than the scumbag from before. Before Feng Xianxian left, the man gave Feng Xianxian a thumbs up. Seize it. Feng Xianxian rolled her eyes at him. How could his eyes be so sharp? After that, the 2 of them left. Tang Yan immediately called the information analyst at the bureau and asked him to pay attention to the forum called the Dark Abyss. Are you familiar with this internet addict? Are you asking this as my boyfriend or as Captain Tang? Feng Xianxian deliberately frowned and asked Tang Yan, if it's Captain Tang, aren't you being too nosy? Boyfriend. High school classmate. Are you satisfied? Feng Xianxian raised her eyebrows and asked Tang Yan, can I treat Captain Tang's behavior as jealousy? Tang Yan did not say anything. He just reached out and opened the door of the SUV. Feng Xianxian followed behind and snickered. She felt a lot more comforted because she finally felt that she had some place in Tang Yan's heart. At least if it was in the past, he would not have done such a boring thing and asked such a boring question. Several teams gathered at the bureau in the afternoon, and each of them brought back different information. There shouldn't be any big problems with Zhongting, right? Feng Xianxian asked quickly when she saw Qiqi. It's hard to say. Qiqi thought of Mr. Lin. However, I also feel that it might be because I've gotten used to looking at people with suspicion recently. Everyone looks like a murderer. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Tell us later and let everyone analyze it together. Won't we know? What about your side? Do you have any clues? I know about a forum called the Dark Abyss. For the time being, I don't know if it has anything to do with these 2 suicide cases. Qiqi nodded. Everyone sat in the conference room of the bureau. Tang Yan had just come out of the autopsy room and was about to hold a meeting with everyone. However, at this moment, the chief brought a tall female police officer in a police uniform to everyone. I found a helper for you. This is Officer Gao. She specializes in fighting cybercriminals and has a lot of experience, the chief introduced. Tang Yan, you're still in charge of commanding, but you should listen to Officer Gao's opinion. She's an expert in this area. As soon as the chief finished speaking, the tall and slender Officer Gao walked up to Tang Yan and extended her hand. I've heard a lot about you. Welcome. Tang Yan was obviously just being polite. We're preparing for a meeting now. Officer Gao, will you join us? Of course. There are already 8 deaths now. It's just that. I'm a little curious. Why are there so many young girls in your special investigations team? They're forensic assistants. Do assistants have to attend meetings too? I thought they weren't official staff and didn't have the right to speak on the case. After saying that, Officer Gao deliberately looked at Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi and Feng Xianxian looked at each other and then got up from the table. You guys go ahead. We'll go to where we should be. Sit down, Tang Yan ordered. I'm still in charge here. Officer Gao's expression was obviously a little ugly. Although she had long heard of Tang Yan's straightforward personality and bad temper, she did not expect him to not give others any face. After all, they were of the same rank. These 2 children are used to following me to the field, so there's no need to send them away. Of course, Captain Tang has the final say here. The other party obviously did not intend to continue to push Tang Yan's buttons. However, Feng Xianxian was already obviously unhappy. This was because a woman's intuition had always been very accurate. This Officer Gao might not only be here for the case but also for the man. Chapter 673. Now tell me about your findings, Qiqi. We visited the families of the 8 victims and conducted a comprehensive investigation of their social media accounts, but we didn't find any useful information. The only impression these victims' friends and relatives had of the deceased was that they were addicted to the internet. However, because surfing the internet is actually a very private matter, they don't know what the deceased usually did online. Mu Qiqi made a simple summary. At the same time, we also found a very strange point. The computers of these 8 victims were either damaged or lost for various reasons. Other teams continue. After Tang Yan heard this, he turned his gaze to the others. According to the information you provided, Captain Tang, we found the forum called the Dark Abyss. However, there are extremely high conditions to access this forum. Not to mention that the entrance is difficult to find, the address is fluctuating. According to the requirements, registered members need to pay a deposit of 100,000 yuan before they can officially join. We haven't been able to decipher it yet, so we can't check the contents for the time being. After hearing this, Officer Gao, who was sitting in her seat, laughed. This is a typical cybercrime. It should be under the jurisdiction of our department. We really shouldn't let you run errands for nothing. Officer Gao, what do you think? I can give you a detailed explanation now, but I don't want any unofficial colleagues to be present. After all, they're not from the police station. If the news gets out, who will bear the responsibility? After all, didn't this woman still feel that Mu Qiqi and Feng Xianxian were eye-catching? Therefore, the 2 of them consciously stood up. Captain Tang, let's go back to the forensics laboratory first. Tang Yan glanced at her and nodded. How about this? Officer Gao said that this case is a cybercrime and doesn't belong to our major crimes division. I'll go to the chief now and hand the case over to you. Officer Gao's expression turned ugly again. She really didn't expect Tang Yan to protect these 2 interns so much. Perhaps the chief had heard that the 2 of them were arguing, so he specially came out of the office and said to Tang Yan, Tang Yan, you have to believe in Officer Gao's professionalism. Listen to her arrangements. Xianxian and Qiqi, leave for now. Since the director has spoken, of course I will do it. However, I would like to ask the director to immediately transfer the case. Since cybercrime is not within our jurisdiction, we should do what we should do. There is no need to hold a meeting. Look at your temper. Officer Gao came all the way here and this is how you treat your guests. Don't throw a tantrum. Tang Yan was not afraid of the director, but Feng Xianxian was. Mu Qiqi, let's go. Mu Qiqi nodded and left the meeting room, returning to the forensics lab. 2 sensible children after all. Seeing that Officer Gao was satisfied, the chief walked up to Tang Yan and said, Don't be so stubborn. Let's start the meeting and try to solve the case as soon as possible. Tang Yan did not say anything else. He only gestured for Officer Gao to go forward and explain what a cybercrime was. Do you think that woman is targeting you or me? Sitting in the morgue, the 2 couldn't help but gossip. It should be directed at the 2 of us. After all, they are experts and we are just interns. Mu Qiqi shrugged. However, Captain Tang has always been willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of the case. What happened today? He wants to fight that Officer Gao to the end. How would I know what's wrong with him? Feng Xianxian didn't think much of it. At this time she wouldn't think that Tang Yen was doing it for her. You didn't tell him about Zhongting's situation just now? They don't like us now. What if we tell them about Zhongting and they use it as a pretext? Mu Qiqi snorted. Moreover, it's just my guess. There's no real evidence. You're right. The two of them waited in the forensics lab. However, not long after, the professor returned to the lab helplessly. How is it, Professor? Only an information analyst can keep up with what Officer Gao said. How can people like us who don't understand computers understand? I think that kid Tang Yen is going to have a headache, the professor explained. So he went to the director's office again and asked to transfer the case. This really doesn't match that kid's character. In the past, if he encountered such a situation, he would definitely work hard and learn those things that he doesn't know. I don't know why, but this time he's not enthusiastic at all. Is it possible that he's taking revenge on the director? Look, when the first 4 victims committed suicide, the director didn't allow us to investigate. Now that the situation is serious, he asked Captain Tang to solve the case within a time limit. Instead, he's not in a hurry. Mu Qiqi thought of this possibility. Who knows what he's thinking? Although Mu Qiqi also wanted to solve the case, she wanted to hear that this matter had nothing to do with Zhongting. Therefore, no matter what Tang Yen decided, she would tell Tang Yen her findings in private. The few of them argued in the director's office until their faces were red. In the end, the director asked Tang Yen to calm down for half an hour before going back to tell him the answer. Feng Xianxian and Mu Qiqi didn't know what happened in the office. The two of them packed their things. After all, they were interns. Since there was nothing for them to do, of course they had to get off work and go home. However, when she went to the bathroom, Feng Xianxian saw Officer Gao fixing her makeup in the bathroom. Although she was unhappy, she still greeted her respectfully, Officer Gao. After combing her hair, she turned around and looked at Feng Xianxian. You and the other child admire Tang Yen a lot, don't you? Officer Gao, you should have heard that Mu Qiqi is Xing Zhao's woman, right? Feng Xianxian explained. What about you? Feng Xianxian didn't answer Officer Gao's question, but she smiled. I've known Tang Yen since I was in the police academy. After so many years, I've been thinking about him because I feel that men should be like him. Now that I think about it, it's been almost 10 years. Officer Gao, isn't it strange for an intern like me to say this? An intern will become a permanent employee sooner or later, and you've been by his side all this time. It's hard to guarantee that you won't fall in love with him over time. I'm just here to tell you in advance that Tang Yen is the man I like. Feng Xianxian smiled and walked to the sink. She slowly washed her hands and then answered Officer Gao. What a pity, Officer Gao. You're still too late. You've known Tang Yen for 10 years, but he's sleeping with me at night. Chapter 674. She could imagine the expression on Officer Gao's face behind her. Then she told Tang Yen about it. After Tang Yen read the message, he did not even frown and silently put away his phone. He did not tell the team, not because Feng Xianxian could not be seen, but because he felt that it would be inconvenient. However, if this matter was made public, he would not feel that there was any problem. He was a prodigal son who mixed in relationships. How could he not know that Officer Gao had a good impression of him? He insisted on doing official business and did not intend to leave any face for Officer Gao. This was because he did not want to have any connection with Officer Gao other than in official business. Now Feng Xianxian had solved this problem. Officer Gao had to admit that when she left the bathroom, her expression was very ugly, but that was all. She had been paying attention to Tang Yen for many years and knew that Tang Yen had many girlfriends, but none of them lasted long. Even if his current girlfriend was Feng Xianxian, it was only because Feng Xianxian was young and beautiful. She always thought that no matter how many girlfriends Tang Yen had, they were just taking care of her man. Shouldn't a man like Tang Yen need a very powerful woman to be compatible with him? Tang Yen calmed down for half an hour. When he returned to the chief, he was still very stubborn. I say, Tang Yen, are you deliberately challenging me? Do you know how much effort we put in to invite Officer Gao over? I know you're very capable, but your expertise is not in cybercrime. Chief, there are 8 lives now. If Officer Gao still wants to do what she wants and thinks that she has the final say here, then you can transfer the case away. You're really hopeless. The chief had no choice but to turn around and try to persuade Officer Gao. In the end, the other party compromised. Are you satisfied now? I hope that Officer Gao will do as she said and fully cooperate. Even if she doesn't cooperate, I hope that she won't hold us back. After saying this, Tang Yan walked out of the chief's office. The relevant departments of the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology also provided the recent visit records of the deceased on the internet. After cross-screening, one of the high-hit addresses really included the Dark Abyss. Of course, there were a few other web pages. Although the Dark Abyss is very suspicious now, we can't miss the other domain names. Old Qing, get a way to enter the Dark Abyss as soon as possible. The others are responsible for investigating the other domain names. Move fast. Phone Xianxia Xiaolong and I will go to the crime scene again. As for Mu Qiqi, go home and find your family. Because Feng Xianxian told Tang Yan about Mu Qiqi's discovery in Zhongting, Tang Yan asked Mu Qiqi to follow Mr. Lin's lead. The entire deployment did not include Officer Gao's position, so she asked Tang Yan directly, "What about me? If you need anything, Officer Gao, I'll definitely let you know." After saying that, Tang Yan said to everyone, "Let's go." Officer Gao crossed her arms and snorted coldly. She had never been treated so coldly before. It was the first time she had been treated so coldly by Tang Yan. Although she admired this man, he was too rude to her. But she had no choice. After all, she was the one who had promised to follow Tang Yan's arrangements. When Mu Qiqi walked out of the police station, she saw her man's car. However, before she got into the car, she caught a glimpse of Officer Gao walking out of the police station's main gate. Mu Qiqi got into the car and regained the arrogance that she should have as the daughter of a rich family and the wife of a Xiu. This made Officer Gao feel uncomfortable from the bottom of her heart. However, some people were born with better conditions than you. This was determined at birth. Officer Gao got into her car. She did not dare to compare herself with Xing Zhao's car. She drove at full speed and soon disappeared from Mu Qiqi's sight. Mu Qiqi smiled and found it very interesting. Xiao, does this woman not have the fate of a queen, but she has the disease of a queen? A proud woman will see all those of the same sex who are more outstanding than her as opponents and silently compare them. I know. Mu Qiqi replied. But I don't think she's competitive at all. Conceit is actually a sign of inferiority. She thinks she has everything, but in fact she lacks everything. Xianxia was not in the mood to care about others. He directly pulled Mu Qiqi onto his legs. The HR manager asked me to pass something to you, but I won't give it to you for free. Mu Qiqi remembered that she had asked the HR manager to help investigate the video. She quickly hugged Xing Zhao's neck and acted coquettishly. You know that I'm curious, but you still torture me like this. Show me first and then I'll agree to whatever you want. This thing had the identity of a rich young lady, but she had lost her childishness in the outside world. She was clearly 20 years old, but she exuded the charm of a mature woman. Just rubbing against his leg was enough to elicit a reaction from him. Xing Zhao could not bear it anymore, so he whispered to Su Che, "Drive faster." Mu Qiqi heard the change in his voice, so she chuckled. There's still some distance to go home. The nearest place is your office in Zhongting. Are you sure? Of course I don't care, but when I get home my parents will be there. Besides, can you hold it in until then? Xing Zhao really wanted to hug this thing and melted in his arms. Su Che, let's go to the company. Su Che did not say anything. He quietly changed direction and drove the car back to the company. When the two returned to the company, they closed the door of the office and released their inner desires for each other on this tall building. Mu Qiqi only felt that this man seemed to have gone crazy, gnawing on her skin and nerves. But the next time she came, she could not look at the sofa here. Xing Zhao's office clearly had a separate lounge, but he was not interested in the big bed. The two sat on his office chair, still joined together and not separated. Mu Qiqi saw Xing Zhao's shirt was loose and his eyes were dazed. She felt as if she had been electrocuted and her whole body was numb. Xing Zhao noticed her change and lifted her chin. You're not full yet? Oh, you promised me. Show me the surveillance. Xing Zhao's posture did not change. He just turned on the computer and played the surveillance for her. At that time Luo Mingxian did leave with the computer and it was very early. You must have investigated that man with the surname Lin, right? According to Su Che, this man is normal. He goes to work and takes care of his daughter when he gets home. He used to be addicted to the internet, but in recent years he rarely has the time to indulge in it. Chapter 675. Are you sure you want to discuss such a serious topic with me in such a position? Xianxia asked as he held her neck. And I mean, if Captain Tang gets the domain name of the Dark Abyss, can I spend 100,000 yuan to register it? Are you crying to me about being poor? Xianxia raised his eyebrows. Compared to the other rich young ladies, Wuxia was practically a thrifty housewife. She was not interested in branded jewelry or clothing. It was rare for her to go shopping. Xianxia had asked the designer to make the clothes for the season and send them over directly. In this aspect she was not like a woman at all. You know that I don't usually spend money. 100,000 yuan is not a small amount. No one's money grows on trees. I also feel sorry for my man. Xianxia couldn't do anything about this little thing. He just wanted to press her on the table and dote on her again. In fact, he did just that. After both of them were satisfied, Xianxia slowly brought Wuxia back to the banyan courtyard. However, as soon as they reached home, Wuxia lay on the bed and fell asleep. After all, she had been tormented for a few hours and her energy had been drained. Then Xianxia made a call in the study. With his connections, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for him to find out about the forum called the Dark Abyss from the young masters he knew. He would see the results tomorrow morning. On the other hand, Tang Yan and the other two went to the scene of 2 more murders. Because the bodies had been moved away, the entire room seemed much emptier than before. The 3 of them carefully investigated the scene again and focused on searching the computers of the victims. Tang Yan did not even let go of the ceiling. However, they still found nothing. Perhaps it was because the lights were off and the 3 of them were holding their flashlights. But just as Feng Xianxian was about to put away her phone and turn on the lights, she accidentally swept the TV wall and found a red dot. Captain Tang found something. Tang Yan immediately turned around and found a miniature camera in the circular wall clock on the TV wall. Officer Long immediately took the camera down and looked a little excited. Maybe this camera captured a few people committing suicide. Feng Xianxian looked carefully at the location of the camera. It was obviously in the middle of the living room. In other words, through the camera, she could clearly see the complete scene of them committing suicide. Check the other locations and bring them back to the station for the technical department to analyze. Feng Xianxian had a hunch that there would be nothing inside. Let's go to the other scene to take a look. Maybe we can find something else. If there were cameras at both crime scenes, it meant that the murderer had seen the footage of the 8 people's deaths, or rather he had kept it. This murderer is truly a freak. But how did he manage to make those 8 people willingly die? Who doesn't want to know the answer now? Feng Xianxian rolled her eyes at senior brother Long. No matter what, there's finally a breakthrough. Tang Yan, didn't my friend say that he had a friend who entered the underworld but was scared out of his wits? I want to find out what he saw and see if he can provide us with any information. It's too late today. We'll go tomorrow, Tang Yan said to Feng Xianxian. Go back and rest first. Captain Tang has learned how to be protective of the fairer sex. Officer Long couldn't help but laugh. However, running around all day is really too tiring. I'm a big man and I can't take it anymore. After saying that, the 2 of them went to the other crime scene and found a pinhole camera. Then Tang Yan brought the 2 of them back to the station. After explaining the matter of the camera, he arranged for them to take turns to rest and brought Feng Xianxian home. You're just going to exclude that Officer Gao? I think she's very sad. Isn't that what you want? Tang Yan asked Feng Xianxian directly. Even if it's what I want, don't say it so directly. According to your personality, you should still be thinking about the public. You're not someone who will change the way you work because of my preferences. Yes, it's not because of you. It's because I hate her too, Tang Yan replied calmly. Haven't you noticed her good figure? Feng Xianxian leaned against the passenger seat and looked at Tang Yan's side profile. Old. Tang Yan summed up Officer Gao with one word, which made Feng Xianxian laugh. I'll be this old in the future. After Feng Xianxian said this, her smile became even wider because she wanted to know if Tang Yan was really a relationship expert. When you were like her, I was already a middle-aged man. So, in front of me you're still a young girl. After Xianxia heard this, she gave him a thumbs up. "Now I believe you, Captain Tang. When you were young, you must have used these flowery words to deceive many women. I had no choice but to be in a thief's lair." In this regard, Xianxia did not do anything. Not only did she not care about Tang Yan's past, she even teased him about his past. This was the confidence she found by Tang Yan's side. At least she was not someone like Officer Gao who could be compared to him. After the two of them returned home, they quickly took a shower and went to bed. Before they could think about anything else, they hugged each other and fell asleep. The next day, Mu Qiqi sat up from the bed and saw the note Xianxia had left on the bedside table. On it was the current domain name of the abyss. Mu Qiqi quickly brought her computer and successfully entered the registration page. As expected, she needed to pay 100,000 yuan to enter the website. Mu Qiqi gritted her teeth and finally used Xing Zhao's card to register as a member. Then she successfully entered the home page of the abyss. It was no different from a normal sales website. You could use the 100,000 black coins you registered to buy anything there, including all kinds of calligraphy, paintings, antiques, orchids, gold, jewelry, and so on. The most special thing was that when you bought something, the website would automatically remind you. There was a 50% chance that the thing you bought was genuine. If you bought the real thing, then congratulations, the value of these genuine things could be millions or even tens of millions. But if you bought a fake, then sorry, your 100,000 black coins would be reduced to nothing. This was clearly a huge gamble. Spending 100,000 yuan to bet on a chance to get rich overnight. Mu Qiqi continued browsing and found that someone had really bought the real thing. Moreover, there was a series of professional procedures such as an appraisal certificate. However, other than that, there was nothing special. Then Mu Qiqi immediately called Tang Yan. "Captain Tang, I've entered the abyss." Chapter 676. In order not to alert the enemy, Mu Qiqi spent a lot of money on that lousy website. She spent 100,000 yuan to buy a few lousy antiques, none of which were real. According to the website's prompt, there would be a system prompt the moment you bought it. This was equivalent to a scratch-off lottery ticket. It was full of the nature of gambling. The people from the branch office also wanted to use Mu Qiqi's username to go in and investigate. However, perhaps because they sensed that the IP address had changed, Mu Qiqi's account was prompted with an abnormality and she could no longer log in. This forum is too hooligan. Moreover, nothing in it is legal. But you said that it's illegal and the price is clearly stated. Moreover, there are all prompts. In the end, it's just taking advantage of the gambler's mentality. As someone who had entered before, Mu Qiqi deeply admired the brains of the forum's creator. We also entered the forum, but Qiqi didn't find anything unusual inside. Although the 100,000 yuan membership fee is expensive, there's nothing suspicious about it. Now that the internet is so developed, it's not surprising that there are a few forums like this. At most, we can just report it. After hearing Officer Long's words, Tang Yan turned to look at Mu Qiqi. Could it be that the IP address and bank account you used exposed your identity and aroused their vigilance? Captain Tang, my understanding is that the abyss is not afraid of our investigation at all, Mu Qiqi replied. I agree with this. If the abyss is really afraid of an investigation or if it has something to do with the 8 lives this time, they would have closed the entrance long ago. How could they still allow us in? Although they were very unwilling, the truth told everyone that the Abyss website did not seem to have anything to do with the murders. Even if those 8 young men had spent money to join the club and even if they did not buy the real thing in the end, they would not commit suicide because of this, right? We went to the scene last night and found a pinhole camera at the scene. Unfortunately, the footage stored by the camera was all automatically erased, Xianxia said. But what is certain is that when these 8 people committed suicide, the murderer must have been watching through the camera somewhere. So all the clues are gone now? Everyone fell into deep thought. A moment later, Xianxia said to Mu Qiqi, "Today, Captain Tang and I will go look for my friend again and eliminate the suspicion of the abyss." "I'll go with you," Mu Qiqi said. "Anyway, the other domain names are still under investigation. Don't be so discouraged." Senior Brother Long comforted everyone. "Our special investigations team has been established for so long, and there has never been an unsolved case. I didn't expect you guys to be so good at comforting yourselves." Officer Gao, dressed in a police uniform, walked out of the chief's office. I've said it before. This is my field. If you want to rely on the previous methods to investigate, it won't work. Cybercriminals hide behind computers and monitor everything. He must have seen the video of you going to the crime scene yesterday. Maybe he's laughing in his heart. These idiots are too gullible. Since it's your field, why do you have to put it in the special investigations team to investigate? Tang Yan asked Officer Gao. That's because you've been trying to catch this murderer for a long time. I've asked an information analyst to search for past cases. As long as there's a similar shadow, I've dug through all the files. Your cyber police still couldn't find the murderer. It's just that in the past the murderer wasn't this vicious. Are you guys afraid of taking responsibility and trying to stir up trouble here? Tang Yan, I think I've been patient enough with you. When you say these words, you better know your limits, Officer Gao said angrily. How about this? I'll leave Officer Long and Old Qing to you. You can use the resources at your disposal. I want to see if you can find the murderer. Who's afraid of who? The two bosses were saying harsh words, and the shrimps below expressed that they were innocent, especially Officer Long. He didn't want to follow this white bone demon either, okay? Captain Tang, you guys take care of Officer Gao. The rest of you follow me out. Tang Yan gestured to Officer Long to calm this woman down and not cause any trouble. Although Old Cheng and Officer Long were extremely unwilling, they didn't dare to disobey Tang Yan's orders. They could only watch as Tang Yan left with the others. It's because we don't usually go online, so we don't know what new things young people like to play these days. The professor sighed helplessly. But forget about me. I'm already a bag of old bones. Why don't the two of you like new things? Feng Xianxia and Mu Qiqi looked at each other and didn't say anything. The two of them seemed to be getting further and further away from their identity as girls. However, just as Tang Yan was about to bring Feng Xianxia and Officer Long to find her friend, the professor pulled him to the side and said, "No one else knows about you and Xianxia, right? Except for Mu Qiqi. But just now, that woman surnamed Gao has already brought this matter to the chief." The professor was a little unhappy. Although this is your private matter and others have no right to interfere, what the chief thinks is another matter. You deal with it yourself. Understood. Tang Yan only said 2 words. He didn't have the time to deal with Gao Qiqi now. However, he would remember this grudge. The three of them traveled together and once again found Feng Xianxian's friend at the high-class club. Xianxian, what do you want to ask this time? We want to know where your friend who was scared out is. Is it convenient for us to talk? Feng Xianxian directly stated her purpose of coming. After hearing this, the other party hesitated for a few seconds. Finally he nodded. I'll help you contact him now. After saying that, Feng Xianxian's friend walked out of the club and made a call. When she came back, she told them, this friend of mine doesn't seem to be in a good mental state. He's been seeing a psychiatrist recently and can't take any stimulation, so he refused. When Feng Xianxian heard this, she glanced at Tang Yan and Mu Qiqi and didn't force them. All right then. Sorry to disturb you today. It's fine. Feng Xianxian felt that the other party didn't tell her everything. But since the other party was unwilling to tell her, she naturally couldn't continue asking. The three of them walked out of the club in silence. They all felt that the forum was still full of strange things that made them feel uncomfortable. Qiqi, where did you get your address? Chapter 677. As if he knew that Mu Qiqi would ask for the domain name again, Xianxia hooked his finger at her. When he saw that she was sitting on him, he asked in a low voice, "Are you sure it's the problem with this forum? I registered as a member this morning and didn't find anything when I went in. However, I still feel that this forum is full of strangeness. There's an indescribable mystery to it. I have a feeling that I've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Why is the police relying on intuition to investigate cases now?" Xianxia curled his lips. Or are you saying that the clues are broken now but you insist on biting on this thread? Is there any way to find out more about this forum? What's in it for me to find the information for you? Xianxia asked Mu Qiqi seductively. His eyes were full of temptation. Do whatever you want. Mu Qiqi said heroically. That's what you said. After saying that, Xianxia dialed the internal line and asked the secretary to enter the office. Go and invite the young master of the Yan family over. Let him come for lunch. Is this young master of the Yen family that ridiculous rich young master? The one who married his father's lover? He's open and likes to hunt for novelty. If there's no news about him, then there's really nothing suspicious about the dark abyss. After saying that, Xianxia pointed to the sofa at the side. Go and wait. I'll go to the meeting first. Got it. Before Mu Qiqi got up, she took the initiative to kiss him. Xianxia was so busy, but she still pestered him thoughtlessly. It made her feel very guilty. After this incident, she would definitely not let her man be involved in these murders again. After 40 minutes of waiting, the famous young Master Yen was invited to Zhongting's office. The secretary guided young Master Yen in and saw Mu Qiqi sitting on the sofa with tea already prepared. Hey, isn't this our little bride? I've heard a lot about you. Mu Qiqi knew that this young Master Yen was a fun person to play with. He was dressed in a wine-red suit and wore exquisite accessories. His hair was dyed flaxen and he was as flashy as he could be. Isn't young Master Yan's name just as well known? The man smiled and cupped his fists. Thank you for not despising me, President Xing. We can still be friends. I'm really sorry. I have something to ask of you today. Mu Qiqi gestured for him to sit down. Young Master Yen leaned against the sofa in confusion. After a few seconds he pointed at Mu Qiqi and said, Could it be because of the forum? Mu Qiqi nodded. Last night your President Xing called me in the middle of the night and asked me for it. Did you go in and play? I'm a shallow player. I want to know how deep it is. Mu Qiqi looked at him seriously, hoping that he would tell her the truth. After young Master Yen heard this, he pondered for a few seconds and then asked, You spent 100,000 yuan? Yes. Mu Qiqi nodded. I also heard that you have to spend millions to watch a good show. Young Master Yen replied, Although I also like to hunt for novelty, I still feel the pinch if I have to spend 1,000,000 just to buy curiosity. However, I can share a few pictures with you. With that, young Master Yen took out his phone, flipped through a few photos and handed them to Mu Qiqi. After Mu Qiqi finished looking at them, she was stunned. That was because the photos were none other than the 4 dead people from 2 days ago before they committed suicide. Young Master Yen, do you know that these 4 people are dead? Who doesn't know now? Young Master Yen suddenly became a little gloomy. But didn't they commit suicide? They can't blame others. Where did these photos come from? A few rich friends shared them. I don't know where they came from. They probably spent millions. After listening to young Master Yan's words, Mu Qiqi fell into deep thought. With these photos she could be sure that the forum was definitely related to the 8 dead people. Little bride, there are too many messy things on the internet. You're a forensic doctor. How can you manage them? Besides, they're all suicides. No one can stop them. Mu Qiqi put away her serious expression and smiled. You're really easy to talk to. You don't have the airs of a young master. I don't know anything. The only thing I have left is my tongue that won't rot. Young Master Yen laughed heartily. I really thought that President Xing wanted to treat me to a meal. So there's another purpose. I was the one who begged him. Besides, who said that I didn't sincerely invite you? This young Master Yen looked like a good-for-nothing. However, Mu Qiqi felt that from this man's way of talking he was just hiding his elegance. In fact, there was a gap in his heart. Otherwise, Mu Qiqi felt that her man would not have become friends with him. Little bride, you really know how to talk. So, can you send me the photos? Young Master Yen shrugged. What's wrong with that? In any case, he had never seen the so-called million-yuan VIP account. He only had a few photos sent by others. After Mu Qiqi kept the photos, she sent them to Tang Yan. The forum was definitely worth investigating. Moreover, the waters were very deep. That afternoon, Mu Qiqi had lunch with Xianxia and young Master Yen. The atmosphere was rather relaxed and cheerful. This person was indeed eloquent and could spit out lotus flowers. Then Mu Qiqi went to meet up with Tang Yan and Feng Xianshan. These photos are of Luo Mingxian and the others before they committed suicide. Since someone took such a picture and it was before they died, does that mean that many people were watching them commit suicide? Young Master Yen told me that only people who spend more than 1,000,000 yuan are qualified to see such a big scene. Can we assume that the benefit of those million VIP users is to watch these 4 children commit suicide? Mu Qiqi's deduction sounded a little crazy and unbelievable. But it was very strange, making people feel that it matched the truth. I keep feeling that we're getting closer and closer to the truth. Can't we, the police, find out who's behind the dark abyss? The forum only provides a platform for those internet experts to roam around. Who are you looking for behind the scenes? They're all hiding behind the computer. Who are you looking for to be responsible? Tang Yan answered. Not only that, the people from the technical department replied that the anti-reconnaissance technology of the dark abyss is very mature. It doesn't seem to be domestic technology. So, Captain Tang, are you saying that we really have to spend 1,000,000 yuan to verify whether the so-called VIP users are watching the children commit suicide? Chapter 678. The investigation department is investigating to see if they can decipher it. Even if they decipher it and find out that there's something wrong with the dark abyss, how can they convict him? After all, these children committed suicide. No one coerced them, so the cause of their deaths is still the key. Wuxia looked at Xianxia and Tang Yan and sighed. Is the dark abyss planning to become our country's dark net? Network security has a long way to go. Xianxia shrugged. Tang Yan was about to sort out the information he had on the case when Xianxia's friend called. Xianxia, that friend of mine committed suicide by taking medicine at noon. After he was scared out by the dark abyss, he was in a trance and refused to say anything. He's in the hospital now. Tell me the address. We'll go over now. Xianxia had a feeling that this man who was scared out by the dark abyss was definitely a VIP. In other words, it was very likely that he had seen the video of Luo Mingxuan's children committing suicide a few days ago. Therefore, the three of them immediately went to the hospital. When they arrived at the hospital, Xianxia saw her friend sitting on the bench with a flustered expression. "Hey, Xianxia, you're here." The man pointed at the ward behind him and said, "He's inside. He was scared to death at noon. Fortunately, he was discovered early and had his stomach pumped. Now he's in a daze. Most sleeping pills can't kill people now. Don't worry." Xianxia comforted him and then looked at Wuxia. "Captain Tang, Wuxia and I will go in first. Because girls were relatively less aggressive, the other party would not be so wary of them. Go. I'll be outside. Call me at any time." Tang Yan nodded. He was also prepared to communicate with this man called Xiao Yu. Wuxia and Xianxia gently pushed open the door and saw the boy sitting on the bed with his arms around his knees. His face was pale. When he saw the two of them, he was immediately frightened. "Who are you? I don't want to see you. Who are you? Get out, get out. We don't have any ill intentions. Get out, or I'll die in front of you." The two of them had no choice but to leave and close the door. "He's too emotional." Wuxia looked at Tang Yan and shook her head. "I heard it. Let me try." Then Tang Yan pushed the door open and walked in. Xianxia could not help but laugh. "We're two women and we ran into trouble as soon as we went in. I really don't believe that a man like him can subdue the other party." However, after Tang Yan had been in the room for more than 5 minutes, there was no sound of shouting. Xianxia and Wuxia were amazed. "I think this person's sense of security is on the verge of being destroyed, so when we go in he will be very repulsed. But when Captain Tang goes in he will be quiet because Captain Tang himself gives people a sense of security." "You're right." Xianxia nodded. "I really want to know what they said inside." In the ward, Tang Yan was sitting next to the man's bed, but both of them were silent. After a long time, Tang Yan said, "I used to be an undercover drug dealer. I was forced to do a lot of things such as hitting women and kidnapping children. If I hadn't been obedient at that time, I might have been stabbed by the other party." "Then, you escaped?" This topic indeed attracted the other party's attention. "Yes, not only did I escape but I also destroyed the drug den," Tang Yan said. "Men are not as weak as you think. When they are strong they can do a lot of things that you can't imagine. So you don't have to be afraid." The man seemed to have been seen through. Only then did he let down his guard and asked Tang Yan, "How do you know I'm afraid?" "There was a period of time when I was undercover. I was also paranoid all day long. I felt that someone was trying to harm me because I saw a lot of dirty things. I almost broke down because I couldn't take it anymore, just like you are now." The man pursed his lips timidly. Obviously, Tang Yan had guessed what was on his mind. "Then are you still afraid now?" "I'm now the national champion of mixed martial arts and kickboxing. I'm still a criminal police officer. I specialize in catching criminals. I want to stop the things I'm afraid of from happening to others like you. After hearing Tang Yan's words, the man was finally not so afraid anymore. Only then did he dare to take the initiative to say something. Officer, can I become as strong as you? As long as you want to, you can. Then can you help me? I can introduce you to all my coaches and make you stronger, Tang Yan promised. The reason why you're afraid now is because you feel small and fragile. It's as if you'll break at the slightest touch. Then you have to become stronger. The man seemed to be encouraged and his fighting spirit was ignited. You're right. I should be braver. Although I feel disgusted when I think of those scenes, I must become stronger. You can tell me what disgusting things you saw. Only by smashing these disgusting things can you be completely cured. Looking straight at them is the only thing you have to do now. After hearing Tang Yan's words, the child fell silent again. However, after a moment he crossed his arms and said, I saw two people killing each other on the forum of the Dark Abyss. I was scared out of my wits. I quickly left. Later I heard that the 4 people really committed suicide. I was very scared because I felt like an executioner. As expected, Mu Chichi was right. The so-called benefits of having 1 million VIP users were that they could watch the livestream killing. As for this child, it was obvious that he had been dragged into it by his curiosity. However, he was kind by nature, so he would be traumatized. Can you carefully recall how you entered and how you saw the livestream? At first, I heard about the Dark Abyss because I heard that I might be able to buy calligraphy and paintings that my father likes. So, I went in a few times and bought a lot of fakes, but I also bought real ones. After a while, I spent a lot of money inside. That day, I was looking for antiques inside and wanted to try my luck. However, the system suddenly reminded me that there was a livestream benefit and gave me a livestream address. I thought it was that kind of thing like beautiful ladies or something, so I clicked in. After all, it would be a waste not to watch it. But when I went in, I understood. Chapter 679. The video was very short. It was only a few minutes. I was so scared that I backed out and then you were hesitating about whether you should call the police. Tang Yan said what was on his mind. But why didn't you have the courage? Because after I upgraded to 1 million members, I signed a confidentiality agreement with the Dark Abyss. But I thought that the Dark Abyss was just afraid of being investigated. I didn't expect there to be such a service. If I leak the secret, not only will I have to pay 100 million in compensation, but I will also be tracked and threatened by the Dark Abyss. So, I'm very conflicted. I'm really afraid. Are there many people watching the live broadcast? Tang Yan diverted the other party's attention to ensure that he wouldn't fall into fear again. I don't know. There's no indication. Officer, does this count as me not reporting what I know? Did I break the law? Don't be nervous. Tang Yan comforted him. We will definitely break through what you're afraid of, and you've done a great service by providing us with clues. The other party heaved a sigh of relief. I feel much better now that I've said it. I also believe that the officer will protect me. The two of them chatted in the ward for a full hour. When Tang Yan walked out of the ward, Xianxia and Mu Chichi were almost asleep. How is it? I've sent someone to protect him. After all, he's our witness. After saying that, Tang Yan handed the phone to the two of them. Go listen. This person was recording. Xianxia knew that people who had dealt with drug dealers must be hiding a lot of thoughts and skills. To ensure that no one was around, the two of them went to the car to listen to the recording. It took them about an hour to finish listening to the conversation. After listening, the two of them had complicated expressions. You guessed right. Xianxia said to Mu Chichi. Now it's confirmed that the Dark Abyss is providing illegal services and live-streaming murders. No, the forum is illegal. But why did the children commit suicide? Why did they listen to others so obediently? I can't understand. Who can understand? This answer is the same as finding the person behind the Dark Abyss. It's not an easy task. A moment later, Tang Yan settled the people in the ward and returned to the two of them. What do you think? I think the problem still goes back to the victims. The computer is the key. I think Luo Mingxuan's computer might have a chance of being found. I asked Zhongting's manager to check the surveillance footage for me and found that when Luo Mingxian left, he was indeed carrying his laptop. He said that it was broken. Is it possible that he really sent it for repair? Because now, even if we know the problem with the dark abyss, we still don't know why these children committed suicide. We can't let go of any clues. With that, Tang Yen called the people in the bureau and asked Old Qing to immediately screen all the computer repair points on this route, from Zhongting's employee dormitory to the rental house where the children died. Their only hope now was to find the child's computer. There's no time to lose. Let's take action now. Hopefully we'll be able to gain something. Xianxia was now full of energy because as long as she thought that there was someone in this world who could be so evil, she was so angry that she was about to cry. It was the same for Wuxia. The two of them suddenly understood why Tang Yen was so gloomy. It was because he had seen more and more demons. It was evening in the CEO's office of Zhongting. Although he had previously ruled out Mr. Lin as a suspect, Xianxia still had doubts about this person. Even if it wasn't to help the little thing solve the case, he had to ensure that there were no terrifying demons hiding in his territory. Suche was assigned to follow them for a week, no matter how big or small. After all, Xianxia also knew what the little thing was inquiring about. His brain was obviously more capable than Wuxia of thinking about what kind of benefits the million VIP members of the Dark Abyss could enjoy. Therefore, he didn't want the little thing to come into contact with dirty things like the Dark Abyss endlessly. So this Lin sends his daughter to school at 7:30 a.m. every day, arrives at Zhongting for work at 8 a.m., gets off work at 12 a.m. for lunch, takes an hour's lunch break at work, gets off work at 5 p.m., brings his daughter home at 6 p.m., and at 9 p.m. the lights at home are turned off on time. It's like this every day. What does he do during his lunch break? What does he do between 6 and 9 o'clock in the evening? I want to know. Xianxia raised his eyelids and looked at Suche seriously. You should have heard about the Dark Abyss. You should know that these are 8 lives. If someone is really hiding in Zhongting and causing trouble, what will happen to Zhongting? So, keep your spirits up and think of a way to find out if this man is suspicious or not. Understood. Suche nodded. Why did Xianxia have such deep suspicions about this man? It was because he was so regular that he didn't eat the smoke of the mortal world. Normal men, friends, and social interactions, which of them didn't take time and energy to maintain? He was so punctual that it felt like he was acting for them. Even someone like him couldn't go home on time every day. However, this Lin guy could. This person was either free at a fixed time or he was acting for them. At this moment, Wuxia and the others were still sweating profusely as they searched for Luo Mingxuan's computer. From Zhongting's staff dormitory to the crime scene, several teams of people searched one by one, asking questions one by one, and went through all the repair points. Finally, in an old repair point, they asked about Luo Mingxuan's computer. This child came and asked. At that time he took the computer and asked if our technology could repair it, but our people were helpless, said the owner of the repair shop. Can you remember any more details? I remember that child because when that child appeared he looked very flustered and he was running over. When he took out the computer his hands were shaking. At that time, our staff saw that the computer was poisoned and could only reinstall the system. He said that it was too late and then he ran away with the computer. Is there anything else special? Wuxia tried to remind him. Boss, please think about it carefully. I still remember his computer screen. It was a dark red screen that kept flashing. It was quite strange. Later, our technology told me that it might have been controlled remotely. After hearing the boss's words, Wuxia and the others knew that the computer would not be found. However, they also had a new point of suspicion. Could Luo Mingxuan's state at that time and the state of the computer be under surveillance and coercion as Xianxia's friend's friend had said? Chapter 680. Captain Tang, who was usually the most hardworking, had been reminding everyone to rest for the past few days. This surprised the people in the bureau and they looked at him with curiosity. Tang Yen glanced around and snorted. Or do you want to stay and continue investigating the mastermind behind the Dark Abyss? When everyone heard this, they immediately scattered. When only Xianxia and Captain Tang were left, he said to Xianxia, "You go home first. I'll go to the chief's office to give a briefing." "I'll wait for you in the car," Xianxia said. Wuxia could not stand the sudden mushy atmosphere between the two of them, so she immediately called her man. Of course, she wanted to see Xianxia the most at this moment because her man always gave her a lot of ideas. The deeper the case went, the more they saw, but at the same time the more doubts they had. Soon Xiao Sheng's car accurately located Mu Qiqi's location and picked her up. Feng Xianxian sat in Tang Yan's off-road vehicle and waited quietly. She did not expect to see Officer Gao at this time. Or rather, Officer Gao knew that Tang Yan was in the chief's office, so she deliberately looked for Feng Xianxian. Guess what Tang Yan and the chief said in the office? Feng Xianxian sat in the front passenger seat and looked at Officer Gao with interest. She wanted to know what she was going to do next. Officer Gao leaned against the door of the off-road vehicle and smiled. She then told Feng Xianxian, "I told the chief about your relationship." After Feng Xianxian heard this, her eyes naturally darkened. "Do you think you will affect Tang Yan's career?" Feng Xianxian only felt a surge of anger in her chest. It was about to break through her body and make her lose control. However, when she thought about it, she was Tang Yan's girlfriend. No matter how much Officer Gao jumped up and down, she had no chance of getting Tang Yan. Therefore, she burst out laughing instead. "Officer Gao, you might not know my man, right? He's a rebellious person. The more others don't let him do something, the more he wants to do it. Not to mention that we're in a sweet relationship now. Even if we break up one day, you still won't have a chance. Do you know why?" Feng Xianxian stuck her head out of the window and looked at Officer Gao. "Because he doesn't like your style. He doesn't like old ones." Officer Gao seemed to be provoked. She stomped her feet, glared at Feng Xianxian and left the SUV. Although Feng Xianxian had the upper hand verbally, she was still worried about Tang Yan. He didn't know what this person would say to the director. In the director's office, the director was indeed talking to Tang Yan about his personal affairs. "I heard that you are in a relationship with an intern assistant in the forensics department. Is that true?" Tang Yan was reading the file. After hearing this, he paused for a second and asked the director, "Can't I?" "Of course. But Tang Yan, I hope that you can consider others. After all, you are my right-hand man now. Of course, I hope that you will have a bright future. Don't tell me that you want to be in the front line of criminal investigation when you're already decades old." "There's nothing wrong with that," Tang Yan said bluntly. "I just hope that you will consider it. In the future, she will also be very outstanding and won't disappoint you. But if you say things that look down on others for the sake of an outsider, I think you might lose more than you gain." The director was stunned for a moment. He pointed at Tang Yan and said helplessly, "All right, I won't care about this matter anymore. I also believe that you are a person who distinguishes between public and private affairs, but you should try to keep this matter a secret. After all, someone is about to come out of the thief's lair that you destroyed. This is also out of consideration for your safety." "Thank you, Director, I understand." After the two of them finished talking, Tang Yan walked out of the director's office. At that moment he met Officer Gao at the door. Officer Gao thought that Tang Yan was not good with words. At least he looked a little dull when it came to relationships. However, Tang Yan said to her directly, "If Officer Gao's purpose in coming to the Jianchuan branch office is not to help us solve the case, then I can call the director of the cyber police and suggest that he transfer her back. Because I feel that Officer Gao seems to be quite free, yet she still cares about other people's private affairs." You're not qualified to be a police officer." After saying this, Tang Yan turned around and went downstairs. He quickly returned to the car. Feng Xianxian saw that his expression was calm, so she did not ask further. When they were halfway there, she said, "So, you and the director both admitted it?" "The director is only my boss. He can't interfere with my private affairs. You won't fall out with the director because of me, will you?" "Read less romance novels," Tang Yan said coldly. "Do you think everyone in the world is an evil mother-in-law in novels? Even so, it depends on my will." Feng Xianxian patted her chest. She also felt that she was thinking too much. "I'm afraid that you'll give up on me, although my rationality tells me that it's impossible." At this moment, Tang Yan actually thought about the director's words in his mind. It was because the director had reminded him that those people were coming out. He was worried about Feng Xianxian's safety. "If one day I really disappear in front of you without saying a word, then I must be doing something very important. You just have to wait patiently, because even if I have to crawl, I will crawl back to your side." When Feng Xianxian heard this, she looked at Tang Yan in surprise. This person was serious. She knew that. So she was relieved. "Although I don't know where my courage came from, I can understand you. As Tang Yan, you are willing to risk your life to solve the case. I won't pester you. On the contrary, I'm very infatuated with your temper. So you just need to remember that I'm your woman. Tang Yan listened silently. Although he did not say anything, his heart was greatly touched. This woman was really worthy of a man giving his soul to her. So, the first thing he did when he returned home was to press this woman in the bathroom and kiss her from head to toe. Late at night, Banyan courtyard. After taking a shower, Muchichi sat in front of the computer in a daze. She just couldn't figure out how the people behind the dark abyss had controlled those young people and made them willing to give up their lives for them. Xianxia came out of the bathroom in his pajamas. Seeing that Muchichi was still in a daze, he went forward and grabbed her collar. You promised to let me do whatever I want. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise now? Muchichi turned around and quickly hugged Xianxia. Xiao, stop fooling around. Wait for me to figure this out. Is the investigation more important or am I more important? Chapter 681. Xianxia looked down at her from above. It seemed that she would not give up until he cleared her Rin and Du meridians today. Therefore he took the opportunity to sit down on the sofa and then scooped her onto his lap. Tell me, what can't you figure out? Muchichi wrapped her arms around Xianxiao's neck and told him what they had discovered today, including the fact that they had discovered that the dark abyss was live-streaming people. The one thing that was stuck in her mind was why those teenagers were willing to die. You spent 100,000 to become a member of the dark abyss. What did you find after you entered? I can gamble and become rich overnight. Muchichi answered Xianxiao's question. You said it before that those 8 children don't come from good families. If they hear that they can become rich overnight in the dark abyss, what will they do? Go to the dark abyss. But they don't have the money to join the club. Xianxia reminded her. You spent 100,000 to gamble it all. At worst you'll lose it. But what about them? Muchichi fell into deep thought. If they really heard about the dark abyss and wanted to gamble on this opportunity, they would definitely think of a way to raise money. But before that, the people in the bureau had also conducted a financial investigation on these children and found nothing unusual. After Xianxia heard this, he pinched her nose. It seems that I really have to bring you to the casino in the future. If a gambler has nothing, does that mean he can't gamble anymore? No, he can pawn his clothes, hands, feet, kidneys, eyes, and even his life. He will give whatever the other party wants. Muchichi came to a sudden realization. I understand now. You understand just like that? Then do you know what to do? Xianxia looked at the little one meaningfully. Previously, when I registered for the dark abyss, I spent money directly. So when I go in, I spend money. And the more I spend, the more benefits I get. Even when I reach 1 million, I can receive a live broadcast address from the system. But what if I don't have money but want to spend money in the dark abyss? Xianxia smiled when he heard this. His reminder was not in vain. This little one understood with a hint. Excited, aren't you? Muchichi hugged Xianxiao's neck and nodded. Yes. I really want to experiment. Experiment? Xianxia picked her up. Do you still care about me? Muchichi exclaimed and quickly wrapped her arms around Xianxiao's neck. Of course you're the boss. Xianxia placed her on the bed and pressed her down. She had almost forgotten who her husband was because he had not fixed this little thing recently. Muchichi lay on the bed and looked at Xianxia. Soon she had forgotten about the dark abyss. Because investigating the case was important, appeasing the jealous man was equally important. Moreover, her admiration for him came from the inside out. His mind was always clear and he could quickly grasp things that normal people could not imagine. Even if it was an area he was not familiar with, he could still help her. This man seemed to be born to be a god. Therefore, in the midst of passion, Muchichi did not hide her infatuation with this man. Ever since she had a crush on him, her feelings for him had never waned. Instead, they grew deeper and deeper. However, sometimes she felt guilty because she didn't seem to have done anything for him in this family. After the joy, there was only silence in the room. Muchichi couldn't help sighing in his arms. Isn't it enough? No, it's just that I don't think I'm good enough to be your wife. Muchichi buried her face in Xianxiao's chest. I've always taken from you, but I've never done anything for you. Xianxia gently stroked Muchichi's hair and lowered his head to kiss the top of her head. I don't want anything. I just want your company. Yes, I'll be with you. I won't leave you even if I die. Although he often heard this from the little one's mouth, every time he heard it, his eyes would widen and his chest would surge. The next day in the branch office, everyone had another meeting. At this time, Mu Qiqi told everyone what she had analyzed with Xianxia last night. Of course, Tang Yan wasn't the captain for nothing. In the early hours of the morning he had contacted Feng Shanshan's friend and obtained the latest entrance to the dark abyss. This time all of them were testing it in the internet cafe. They planned to enter the dark abyss on credit. Soon old Qing arrived at the payment page. Other than the fixed bank card payment, there was also an eye-catching option, IOU payment. Old Qing glanced at Tang Yan and entered the IOU payment page. After clicking on it, the system automatically reminded him that he only needed to fill in his real name and detailed information for the first loan. Then old Qing received a loan of 100,000 yuan. Then he spent it on the Dark Abyss page and quickly gambled away all the loans. In the end, the system continued to prompt him to continue the loan. Captain Tang, if anything happens, you have to protect me. Continue with the process. Old Qing snorted and continued to enter the loan page. This time, the requirement for the loan was to pay a few points of interest, which was not too much. Old Qing gambled away 100,000 yuan once again. I understand. The Dark Abyss treats players with money and those without. It's a completely different system. Those who have money to pay and go in to spend won't be in arrears. The page is normal, but those who borrow money to go in are all kinds of traps. Mu Qiqi watched from the side and sighed deeply at the terrifying imagination of the founder of the Dark Abyss. Old Cheng's loan had reached 900,000 yuan. I feel that we're getting closer and closer to the truth of those children's suicide. Feng Shanshan suddenly had a premonition. This forum is really crazy. Old Cheng's loan of 900,000 yuan was only the principal. Adding on the interest, it was already a sky-high price. If he continued to borrow money, it was impossible to predict how much debt old Qing would have to bear. The few of them thought that this was the discussion of the Dark Abyss. However, they did not expect that after old Qing borrowed 1.3 million yuan, a page suddenly popped up. Debt repayment. Old Qing glanced at Tang Yan as if waiting for Tang Yan to give the order. Tang Yan nodded and old Qing chose the debt repayment button. Then he entered a mission page. There were dozens of options such as house mortgage, car mortgage, and so on. There was also the last button, body repayment. This was what Xianxia had mentioned. The so-called selling a kidney or removing a cornea. However, just as old Qing was about to choose the last option, the computer suddenly turned black. When he logged in again, the entrance had already changed. What a pity. I'm still missing the last bit. Perhaps the other party has already detected it. This is a test. Tang Yan said to everyone. This also fully shows how powerful the person behind the Dark Abyss is. Chapter 682. Tang Yan immediately reported this matter and asked the cyber police to send another capable assistant to help solve the case. This was tantamount to slapping Officer Gao in the face because Tang Yan had never used this so-called capable person even once. What he needed was someone who could really do practical things. Leave the matter of deciphering the Dark Abyss to the cyber police. What we need to do now is to try our best to track down where the computers of the 8 deceased are hidden. Since we've seen Luo Mingxian at the previous computer repair shop, we've checked the surrounding surveillance cameras. The traffic control department is analyzing it and will give us an answer later. Tang Yan finished a series of arrangements and entered the chief's office to report. After the chief heard the whole case, he was especially shocked. To be honest, my children also love to surf the internet, but I didn't expect these vulnerable groups to be the targets of cybercriminals. Turns out that the danger is so close to these children. Tang Yan, you must find the reason why the children committed suicide as soon as possible. I know, Chief. Perhaps they did not expect Tang Yan and the others to investigate to this extent. The Dark Abyss had already urgently shut down the system and sealed it. And now, Tang Yan did not hope that the mastermind behind the Dark Abyss would be afraid because of this. He was only avoiding the news because he did not think that Tang Yan could catch him. Even if he caught him, those children had committed suicide. He did not need to pay the price for the choices of these children. However, the mastermind was wrong. Tang Yan knew that he did not understand the internet, so he had already entrusted this area to the cyber police to investigate. And what he needed to do now was to find the most crucial physical evidence: the computer. Soon, the traffic control department obtained Luo Mingxuan's tracks from all the nearby intersections. From the surveillance cameras, it was not difficult to see that after he came out of the computer repair shop, he hugged the computer and hurried to the next shop. In fact, Tang Yan and the others had been to that shop before. However, the employee in charge of Luo Mingxian at that time happened to be on vacation, so he missed Tang Yan and the others' inquiries. A few minutes later, Luo Mingxian came out again. However, after taking a few steps, the phone in his pocket rang. After he looked at the caller ID, he immediately knelt on the ground and picked it up. A minute later, he hung up the phone, hugged the computer again, and disappeared from the surveillance range. After that, the child must have walked into the blind spot of the surveillance camera, so there was no surveillance record. Not long after, he committed suicide, the person from the traffic control department explained to Tang Yan. Mu Qiqi followed behind Tang Yan and carefully observed the entire process of Luo Mingxian entering and leaving the two shops. He looked flustered and looked around from time to time. It was obvious that he was afraid that someone was following him. When he went to ask the boss of the computer repair shop, he also said that Luo Mingxian was in a hurry that day, and the screen of the computer was dark red and flashing non-stop. Captain Tang, it's obvious that Luo Mingxian received a death warning that day. That's why he was so flustered and scared. Moreover, if it were a normal person under normal circumstances, they would hide and flee to the ends of the earth. But his reaction was to repair his computer. That computer is a death sentence. Feng Xianxia took a deep breath. Right now we can only simulate the route. From the second repair shop to the crime scene, there are 4 ways to reach it. Now we'll split into 4 groups and look for clues separately. There's no need. Mu Qiqi had been staring at the screen. After listening to Tang Yan's arrangements, she suddenly pointed at the screen and asked everyone, "Look at the computer in Luo Mingxuan's hand." When he came out of the first shop, it had a silver-gray shell, but when he came out of the second shop, it turned silver-white. Everyone took a closer look and indeed they noticed this detail. "Let's go." Tang Yan immediately led everyone to the second computer repair shop. After watching the surveillance footage, the boss of the repair shop immediately called the employee on duty that day. Then the boss brought Tang Yan and the others into their warehouse. My employee said that when Luo Mingxian looked for him that day, he was recycling a broken laptop. After Luo Mingxian left, he put the broken laptop in the warehouse and prepared to go back to the factory for repair. The boss explained as he looked at the serial number on the shelf. In the end, he found the computer. Tang Yan and the others looked. Silver gray. Found it. The 2 laptops are similar in color and size. Maybe Luo Mingxian was too impatient, and men are naturally insensitive to color, so it's possible that he took the wrong one, Mu Qiqi analyzed. No matter what, this is all our hope. The boss handed the computer over. Tang Yan and the others finally got the physical evidence. However, because the computer was turned off, they brought it back to the branch office and planned to let the forensics team analyze it. With hope, everyone sat in the branch office and waited for the results. The forensics team turned on the computer and called Tang Yan. "Captain Tang." Tang Yan immediately walked over and saw huge blood-red words appear on the computer screen. "Warning. Your uncle has been locked down by us. Your debt will be paid by your uncle. Warning. Your uncle's daughter has been locked down by us. Soon she will be implicated by you and die a violent death. Warning. Looking at these shocking things, Tang Yan directly told the forensics team, "Immediately crack Luo Mingxuan's computer. I want to know the whole process from the moment Luo Mingxian entered the dark abyss to the moment he endured the threat." Perhaps Luo Mingxian chose to die under such coercion, Feng Xianxia said, feeling a little sorry for him. Seize a person's weakness and break through their heart. No wonder old Qing asked him to fill in detailed information when he first went in to get the loan, and even asked for his family and friends. It's too scary. Senior brother Long couldn't help but sigh. If these things pop up on my computer at any time, even my hair will stand on end. This is too terrifying. Most importantly, I'm afraid of implicating my family. Luo Mingxian was brought up by his uncle. No wonder he was so flustered. Every time there was a murder, everyone would do their best to investigate the truth behind it. However, when they were really close to the truth, they would find it hard to accept. "Captain Tang, we found a special remote control software on Luo Mingxuan's computer. This should be a subsoftware belonging to the Dark Abyss. It's different from ordinary remote control software. Using this remote control software, almost everything on Luo Mingxuan's computer has been cleared, so it might be difficult for us to find anything valuable. The forensics team said. In other words, this computer is useless? Let's try to find the IP of the computer remotely. Chapter 683. Therefore the clues were once again stuck here. As for the cyber police, they were using high-powered criminal investigation methods to locate the main server of the Abyss. If they could shut down this forum as soon as possible, it would undoubtedly be a joyous occasion. However, how could they find the person behind the scenes? Cybercrime was different from other crimes. The methods were special and easy to hide. Perhaps the murderer was the person beside them. I really don't know what kind of suffering these 8 children endured when they were alive. It's true that they wanted to change their fate, but they chose the wrong path. The group of people did not know how to use the internet, so they could only sit in the branch office and wait for the results. I still want to do something for these 8 children, but I don't know where to start. Xianxia leaned on the table and sighed. All right, you've done your best. Xianxia had to admit that Xianxia seemed to have an extra eye than her. She could always see a lot of things that she could not. Xianxia had to admit that it was because of Xing Zhao's influence. Xing Zhao was a meticulous person, and although he did not show it on the surface, he was in fact able to see through people's hearts. Xianxia had indeed learned those qualities from Xing Zhao, and only then could she truly be said to have been taught by Xing Zhao himself. At this point, Xianxia suddenly thought of something. Captain Tang, I think we need to interrogate someone. Tang Yan leaned against the edge of the table looking very deep. When he heard Xianxia's words, he turned to look at her. Go ahead. When senior brother Long and I went to Zhongting to visit, we talked to Luo Mingxuan's boss, a man with the surname Lin. You know that I suspected him. He told us that he and Luo Mingxian went to work together and got off work at the same time and had a good relationship. If Luo Mingxian was really abnormal, how could he not notice it? You also noticed that when Luo Mingxian was threatened, he was very panicked. As his boss, how could Mr. Lin not notice it? I still feel that this Mr. Lin is hiding something. After Tang Yan heard this, he nodded. I understand what you're saying. Xiaolong, go and summon this man. I'll go and ask the chief. Don't you need to wait for the approval first? You go first. I'll call you on the way, Tang Yan said. Officer Long nodded and promised Tang Yan, I'll definitely handle this matter well. Wait, I'll go with you. I'll call Xiao first and ask him to make the arrangements. That's good too. Tang Yan nodded and acquiesced to their actions. Then Xianxia and Officer Long walked out of the police station. After getting into the car, Xianxia called Xing Zhao. However, Xing Zhao's reply made her frown. He's in the hospital. He injured his hand due to improper mechanical operation. What a coincidence. That was all Xianxia could think of. Besides Xiao, are you investigating him? Otherwise, with Xing Zhao's personality, he wouldn't understand a man who wasn't even worth a second glance. So far, I haven't found anything suspicious. However, the police will still summon those who should be summoned and interrogate those who should be interrogated. Which hospital is he in? Dikang. Xianxia received the news and gave a simple report to Tang Yan. After Tang Yan heard that, he also wanted to meet this so-called Mr. Lin personally. Xianxian and I will come over right away. In Zhongting's office, after Xing Zhao hung up the phone, he fell into deep thought. Then he dialed the internal line and called Su Che in. Take advantage of this time to do something. President, please give me your orders. Hold Lin Yuquan's wife back and pick up Lin Yuquan's daughter. The adults don't speak the truth, but the child does. If there's no way to avoid Lin Yuquan's wife, bring both mother and daughter here. I understand. I'll definitely ensure the child's safety. Soon Tang Yan and the others arrived at Dikang Hospital. Lin Yuquan was lying on the hospital bed with a pale face because he had injured his hand. He didn't seem to expect the police to come looking for him again, but his attitude was still very cooperative. Officers, are you here for Mingxuan's matter again? Lin Yuquan pointed at his right hand and said, It's a pity that I injured my hand and can't sit up. Please forgive me. It's fine. Captain Tang from our branch's major crimes unit wants to have a chat with you. You don't need to spend much energy. Just lie down, Muqiqi said to Lin Yuquan. That child Luo Mingxian should really want to get rich, right? It's indeed not easy for this child. He wants to leave his original family and repay his uncle, so he works very hard. He always eats the simplest instant noodles and wears the cheapest clothes. Even his underwear is a small size that I bought for him, Lin Yuquan recalled. Although it's only been 3 months, I feel that he's like my younger brother. Didn't he show any abnormalities before the incident? I really don't know about that. I go home on time every day and pick up my daughter on time, so I really didn't pay attention to his psychological condition. If I knew that he would commit suicide, I would definitely try my best to stop him, Lin Yuquan answered Tang Yan regretfully. He's really a good child. It's been so long. Haven't you seen him playing something on the computer even once? I really don't know, officer. I'm someone who rarely touches the internet, so I don't really understand. Lies. At that moment, only these 2 words appeared in Muqiqi's heart. Lin Yuquan's right hand was injured. Judging from the injury, it should be his palm. Why, wasn't it to cover up his mouse hand? You've been doing technical work for some years, haven't you? It's just to make a living. After all, I have to support my family. At this point, Lin Yuquan smiled at everyone. Speaking of which, it's time for my wife to pick up my daughter. My daughter is in cram school. I'll make a call. Go ahead. Lin Yuquan picked up the phone with his left hand and dialed his wife's number. In front of a group of police officers, he did not hide anything. Have you picked up Xianxia and brought her home? She'll be there soon. She worked overtime at the company. Hurry up and go. Don't let Xianxia wait. Lin Yuquan's expression was a little flustered and impatient because he did not pick up his daughter. This was something that everyone in the police force could see. He never would have thought that Lin Yuquan's daughter and wife had already been picked up by Su Che. This was very easy. As long as Xianxia said that he would discuss the compensation with his family, his wife would go to Zhongting to meet Xianxia no matter what. After all, Xianxia's reputation was there. Lin Yuquan's wife also believed in Zhongting. Chapter 684. After Lin Yuquan's wife arrived at Zhongting, she first talked to the HR department of Zhongting and expressed her demands. Then it was Xiao's secretary who took care of her and conveyed her love to the child. Although Xiao was very reluctant to use such formulaic methods on a mother and daughter, such a well-intentioned lie seemed very important in the face of 8 lives. In the end, Xiao had his secretary invite the mother and daughter to the CEO's office, and deliberately put a computer on the coffee table. Lin Yuquan's wife was very nervous when she saw Xiao. She had never thought that a small fry like her would meet a big shot one day. Moreover, he was such a young and promising big shot. Xiao got up from his chair, strolled to the sofa and sat down. Madam Lin, don't be nervous. I just want to know if Mr. Lin can continue working in his current condition. Xiao did not plan to mention Luo Mingxian because it would arouse the woman's suspicion. Everything he was doing now was to relax Lin Yuquan's wife's wariness. Yuquan's injuries are quite serious right now. I don't know if he can continue working, Lin Yuquan's wife said. However, seeing that Xiao's expression had darkened, she quickly explained, Xiao, I didn't mean that. Zhongting has already treated our small family very well. I just feel that the pillar of the family has collapsed and I'm a little sad. The company is a place that pays attention to the system, but it also has its own warmth. If you have any needs, you can tell me. The company has done enough for us. We're really satisfied. Just as Lin Yuquan's wife was answering the question, Lin Yuquan's daughter walked over to the computer and started playing. When Lin Yuquan's wife saw this, she immediately stopped him. Didn't I teach you not to touch other people's things? Then I'll go home and play on Daddy's computer, Lin Yuquan's daughter pouted. Chief Xing, please excuse me. The child is not sensible. Your daughter is very cute, but it doesn't seem good for her to come into contact with the internet at such a young age. His father is at home and has to sleep for a while from time to time, so the child was infected, Lin Yuquan's wife explained. Of course not. Daddy played all night. I saw him go to the bathroom a few times. You're lying. When Lin Yuquan's wife heard this, she immediately covered her daughter's mouth. Child, what nonsense are you talking about? You're wrong. Mrs. Lin, you don't have to be so nervous. I'm not a policeman investigating a case. Hearing the word, police, Lin Yuquan's wife's heart immediately broke down. Perhaps she was afraid that her daughter would say more things about Lin Yuquan that no one knew about, so she stood up with a flustered expression while carrying the child. Zhou Xian, I think that since the matter has been settled, I won't continue to disturb you. Thank you for everything Zhongting has done for us. Are you taking your daughter to the hospital now? I'll send someone to escort you. Xing Zhao's expression was still calm, as if what was happening outside had nothing to do with him. He was a professional person in charge of a military enterprise. Lin Yuquan did not dare to look Xing Zhao in the eye at all. He rejected Xing Zhao's kindness. Thank you, Xiao Xing, but I drove my own car here. I won't trouble you. With that, Lin Yuquan's wife rushed out the door with her daughter. Xing Zhao curled his lips when he saw this. In the dark night he looked like a ruler. So he said to Su Che, let's go and watch the show now. He'll bring me along too. The secretary was extremely curious. You sit in the front passenger seat, Xing Zhao said coldly. What a joke. Only the little one could sit in the seat next to him. The secretary was also tactful and nodded non-stop. Don't worry, Su. Even if you didn't say anything, I would have opened the front passenger door. Su Che drove and quickly caught up with Lin Yuquan's wife. At that moment, the secretary also realized that Lin Yuquan's wife was not heading in the direction of the hospital at all. Where is she going? Home, Xing Zhao said firmly. Just now Lin Yuquan's daughter had said that her father had been playing on the computer all night. In order to clear his name, Lin Yuquan had deliberately hurt his hand. Now that her daughter had revealed such a big secret about her father, Lin Yuquan's wife would naturally be nervous. She was afraid that the police would find out and search the Lin family's house. Because Xing Zhao had deliberately emphasized the word, police, just now. Since Lin Yuquan's wife was feeling guilty, it meant that Lin Yuquan's house was indeed hiding something that the police were interested in. CO, you can totally become a criminal police officer. Xing Zhao deliberately raised his voice, which made the secretary tactfully shut her mouth. He was intervening now because of that hateful little one. Become a criminal police officer? This kind of thing was suitable for a boxing champion like Tang Yan to run errands. Soon, the car of the three of them followed Lin Yuquan's wife to the entrance of the neighborhood. Xing Zhao had no intention of forcing his way in. He only gave Su Che a look. Follow them. Since Lin Yuquan's wife was afraid of being investigated, she would definitely think of a way to take the evidence out and destroy it. Therefore Su Che did not need to break into a private house. He only needed to wait quietly outside. On the other side, Tang Yan and the others were still in Lin Yuquan's ward. However, logically speaking, after his wife picked up her daughter, she should have already arrived at the hospital. However, there was still no movement. Lin Yuquan looked very worried. He really wanted to take out his phone and call his wife, but he was afraid that Tang Yan and the others were still in the ward. He really wanted to find an excuse to let Tang Yan and the others leave, but that would make him even more suspicious. However, because he seemed to be extremely anxious, Tang Yan and the others deliberately stayed in the ward to chat with him. Mr. Lin, you look very hot. Are you not feeling well? Do you want me to call a nurse in? No need. I'm just very tired. I just don't know if you're done questioning, officer. I want to rest. All right then. If there's anything new, we'll look for you again. Tang Yan gestured to everyone, and they immediately got up from the sofa in the ward. Then I won't send you off anymore. Lin Yuquan was relieved. He had finally waited until the police left. After Tang Yan and the others left, Lin Yuquan took out his phone and called his wife. Where are you now? I'm at home. Lin Yuquan's wife told Lin Yuquan what had happened in Zhongting. After Lin Yuquan heard this, he almost went crazy. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.